Hello and welcome to episode 148 of the So Video Games podcast, where we talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. If we are playing it, we will be talking about it. Today we are recording on September 18th, 2019. My name is Corey Motley. I am a podcast producer and a co-host of the So Video Games podcast. I'm also an occasional writer at GameCritics.com. Last but not least, I am 50% of this show. Joining me, as always, is Brad Galloway. He is my co-host, the editor-in-chief of Game Critics, and last but not least, my partner in crime for every episode of the So Video Games podcast. How are you, Brad?
I am doing good, and I am excited to be doing the show with you specifically today because it's a really good game that I want to talk about some more.
Yes, so listeners, beware. We have a very special episode on our hands. If you recall, a while back, Brad and I did an entire episode about the Hitman franchise where we spent like a 4-hour extravaganza.
4 fucking hours, dude. That was ridiculous.
Talking about every game in the Hitman franchise, from the roots to Hitman 2 that had just come out. I was reviewing it at the time. Brad had a copy and was playing it, and we deep dived the hell out of Hitman. We're doing a similar thing for this episode. However, we are not talking about a franchise of games because there is no franchise to draw from for this. We are going to be talking about Control again, which is Remedy's new game published by 505 Games. I talked about it 2 episodes ago, and we didn't quite deep dive on it because I had either almost finished it or had just finished it at the time, and Brad, I think, had barely gotten started in it. Last week, Brad gave a tiny update on how far he was in it, and this time around, Brad has finished it. We've both finished the game. We've both played the game beyond the ending and played side missions and extra stuff. So I would consider this a giant spoiler warning because I think Control is literally the only game we're going to talk about this week. Is that right, Brad?
That is correct, sir.
Yes, so this is a very special episode. I'm sorry for everybody listening if you don't care about Control, or you've already heard us talk about it enough, or you're not interested in it. I am very sorry, but this is the game that Brad and I have been putting a ton of time in lately. If you don't want to listen to our Control chat, and you want to still listen to Banter, we do have a very thorough Banter section, which is at the end of the show after the ending music, as it always is. Also, you can check the show notes to see what time Banter starts. If you want to just fast forward right to it, you certainly may. Or if you want to skip all of this completely, if you don't care about Control and you don't care about Banter, then first of all, why are you listening to the show at all? And second of all, you can, I don't know, just not listen to it. But we're doing a deep dive on Control, full spoilers. We're going to be talking about the story, the missions, the characters, the weapons, the powers. We're going to be talking about everything. So if you haven't played Control and you want to skip, please bail now, because this is all we're talking about, and we're going to deep dive all the way down. Brad, have I given a sufficient enough spoiler warning?
I feel like that is a very good and thorough spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about everything, so this is probably the final time we will warn it. But yeah, that's A to Z, front to back, soup to nuts. Everything about Control is going to get spoiled right here, right now.
Excellent. Well, the last time we talked about it, which was 2 episodes ago, I sort of led the discussion on it because I had been playing it the most, and I had review duties at Game Critics for it, and you had either just started or had gotten a little bit into it or hadn't started yet. I can't remember, but because I started last time and sort of like gave the overview of the game and talked about it a lot, and everybody's heard my piece a little bit already. Brad, do you want to get everybody up to speed on Control and talk about a little bit of your experience with it first?
Yeah. So just a really quick recap. Yeah, you had finished the game by the time we talked about it. I had only gotten about maybe like an hour or maybe like 90 minutes into it. So I had gotten enough to get a taste of it, but I was, didn't really know anything about what was coming up and hadn't really gotten that far. So at this point, I have finished the game and I have done 100% of the side quests. I've done everything in the game. The only thing I haven't done in the game is locate all of the secret areas, which I didn't even know existed until after I had done all of the side quests. And I was searching FAQs and wikis online for more stuff to do. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't even know these were even in the game. So that's the only thing I haven't done. And I haven't done them because, honestly, all you're doing is going to a very hard-to-reach place and just being there for a second and then leaving. It's not, like, the most exciting content, so I haven't done those. But I've done everything else in the game. Corey, what is your completion ratio for this game?
I have completed all of the main missions for the entire game and all of the sort of like story related side missions. The only thing I haven't done is, well, I haven't done the secret rooms either. I think I've done like 2 of them. I have not done, they have the timed missions where sometimes when you turn on the game, I don't know how the game decides to give you these or not. Every once in a while, a mission will just pop up and you have a time limit to do it. And if you fail, then you don't get to try it again, and you just have to wait until the next timed mission pops up. And usually it's just about you going to, like, a room and doing, like, a combat scenario, and that's basically it. I've done, like, 3 or 4 of those, but I haven't done... I'm guessing there's a finite end to them, because I haven't... I at least have not gotten the trophy for it yet. Do you know if there's a finite end to those?
I don't think there is a finite end, but you do get a trophy if I think you successfully do like 3 of them. I've only successfully done 2 because I figured these were just like filler missions just to give you something else to do, and I wanted to finish the game, and I was really interested in more of the story content and some of the more structured missions that actually got you like legit rewards. So I didn't end up doing a lot of those. I think I did 2, and I just kind of ignored the rest of them. But I think they just randomly generate. I don't think there's an end to them.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. But yeah, I've only done a few of those, and I don't know if these have a finite end either, but there's a side mission called, like, something countermeasures, and it's basically just, like, go to this wing and kill this thing with this gun, and you get, like, gun power-ups and rewards for doing them. I've done a few of those. I don't know if there's a finite ending to those either, but if there is, I have not completed all of them. Do you know about those?
I don't know if there's a finite end, but yeah, they're just like little extra challenges, like go to this part of the building and kill this particular guy using this kind of gun. Most of the rewards for those were not useful to me because by the time I started paying attention to them, I was already like using like the max level stuff, and so like the stuff that I were offering was like really low level, so I didn't bother doing those. And plus, I'm not much of a really like super arbitrary, like, oh, use the shotgun on level 2 of the research wing. Like, I mean, so if I'm there, great, but I'm not gonna like go out of my way to just like wander around and look for a particular enemy just so I can use the shotgun. I mean, that's kind of boring. I mean, it's a cool thing if you're gonna go there anyway, but I didn't bother doing many of those, and most of the rewards were pretty junky anyway, so I skipped those, and I didn't really count those as being like legit content, I guess.
Okay, good. I feel kind of the same way, because at first I was like interested in doing them, and I have done a few, but they just kind of get silly after a while. And something that really bothers me about the game, and this is maybe something we can deep dive on a little bit later, is that there's like a handful of different enemy types in the game, and some of those missions, it'll be like, go to the executive wing and kill X kind of enemy with this gun. And the game, to my knowledge, never like broke down what every enemy type was. So I don't even know like what it'll be like, kill a ranger with the pistol. And I'm like, what the fuck is a ranger? Like, the game never was like, oh, this is a ranger enemy type, unless I just totally missed it. So, like, I don't even have the patience to go, like, look up what the enemy types are on some, like, wiki somewhere and then go find them. So, yeah, I kind of gave up on those mission types pretty quickly.
I would agree. I feel like, so in the game, I mean, I think the justification for the enemies is pretty good because... in the story, the enemies that you're fighting are humans who were already in the building and they've just become possessed. So it's very rare that you come across an enemy that is non-human. There are some that are non-human, but most of them are possessed humans, which I think is a great narrative explanation for why the enemies are there. And I think that's totally makes sense. But you're right. Like, the enemy types are not that varied, and they're not really that distinct. I mean, I think you can go into your notebook or whatever, like the list of documents, and I think each one, if you look them up inside the internal wiki of the game, it'll tell you which one is which. But I didn't bother to read those. I didn't care enough, and I didn't think the rewards were interesting enough, or the challenges weren't interesting enough. I was just like, fuck it, whatever. If the guy is in front of me, I'm going to shoot him. I don't care which guy it is. I'm going to use what gun I feel like using, and that's how we're going to roll. So I didn't care, and I don't feel like I missed out on anything. It was just like these really low level rewards that after the first hour or two you're not going to find useful anyway, so I didn't bother doing it. But
Okay, good.
Anyway, all right, cool. Okay, so let's okay, so just I'm assuming people who are listening to this probably already know what Control is, but just for the sake of completion, put out by Remedy Games, it's a third-person action. I mean, kind of like a Metroidvania, not really, sort of. It's like an open-world game, kind of, not really, sort of. You're inside a giant building, which does not really follow the rules of physics, and so the rooms in the building can shift and change. You're going back and forth anywhere within this building. It's a pretty big building, lots of wings and hallways and rooms, and some of the rooms 100% are like fantastical, like they move and change and all sorts of weird stuff happens. But you're going back and forth, trying to solve the mystery of what's going on. You play Jessie Faden, who is a woman who had a paranormal experience when she was a child. Her brother got abducted, and she's spent her entire life trying to find out what happened to her brother and trying to find the Bureau of Control, which is where you are now, because she believes they are who abducted him. So she spent her whole life looking for this building. She finally finds the building. She gets inside, and the building goes on lockdown because there are these enemies inside called the Hiss. They are an extra-dimensional enemy who are possessing normal humans and causing chaos. And so once you get inside, you find out that shit's going down and it's crazy, and you're one of the only people who is not affected by the Hiss. You find out reasons for that later. But that's kind of it. Like, you get supernatural powers. You have a gun that can transform into different abilities. It goes from like a regular pistol to like a submachine gun to a shotgun to a grenade launcher. And Jessie herself gets a wide array of things. She can do like a force push. She can pick up things telekinetically and toss them. She can do a like shield. She can hover. Not really a full flight, but it's kind of like a pretty generous hover. And that's like the bare bones of the game, I think. There's NPCs scattered around you can talk to. There are a million documents to find, but that's kind of how the game goes. Is that a pretty fair summation?
That was a very thorough summation, I think.
All right, thank you. So let's talk about the story real quickly.
That is exactly what I wanted to start with, so I'm glad you wanted to start there too.
Excellent. We are on the same page. So I'm going to say up front that I like the story a lot. I think that probably you like the story less. So let's hear from you first. What did you not like about the story?
Well, okay, so this is kind of like, I kind of wanted to take this opportunity for us to kind of like talk through the story together, because I did not really enjoy what was going on story-wise in the game, but I also feel like there's sort of an element of maybe me just either like not paying enough attention or not like maybe really understanding what was going on, and like maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't like it. So I definitely want to like talk through this a little bit, because like in the beginning you play as Jessie, and she gives, and to be frank, I don't really think any of the dialogue in this game is like very good. I think it's all kind of like, it feels like it was like written on its first draft and then like never revised to me. And she gives this really like cringy monologue in the beginning, like literally the very beginning of the game, that's about like posters, and how like she always wants to like look behind posters, and like, is there a world behind the poster? And it makes like, I mean, maybe there's some like, ooh, like metaphor that I'm like not really getting here. But it starts out on this like poster extravaganza, like, I don't know, thing, like monologue. And then that only comes up like one more time, like 80% through the game, where she like starts talking about posters again. And I was just like, this is like not an interesting metaphor to me. And so she like finds the Bureau of Control, and she starts meeting, like basically the first thing she does when she gets there is she goes to the director's office, facing zero resistance getting there. The director is dead on the floor behind his desk. It appears to be a suicide, because the game kind of alludes to the fact that he shot himself. He has fallen off his chair and he's dead next to the desk, and the gun, this special gun that she picks up, is there. She picks up the gun, and then all of a sudden, because she has the gun, she has become the new director of the Bureau of Control. So, like, she will find these other NPCs in the building, and basically all the NPCs are like, or most of them that she could talk to are sort of like executive level people from different branches of the Bureau, and they're sort of like losing their grasp obviously on the building and on the bureau, because this hiss presence has come in and like, you know, taken over people and made them like float in the air, and they're kind of like babbling to themselves and stuff. And so when they realize that she has like the gun, they sort of like straighten up and they're like, oh, you're the director, okay. And then they just sort of like, it's like this protocol that she stepped into that she doesn't quite realize that she's stepped into. And the game does this thing a lot where she has, and I know I talked about this on the first time we talked about the game, where Jessie has like an internal monologue that's going on a lot. And it reminds me a lot of the Uncharted games, because it's her just like talking things out to herself internally. But the thing that I think is really annoying about the game is that every time she has internal like dialogue, the game will like zoom in on her eyeballs, which is like the least interesting sort of like visual representation of like an internal monologue you can get. And also like the internal monologue stuff she says will always be like, she'll be like talking to somebody and there'll be a pause, and her internal monologue, she'll be like, oh, maybe I should ask her about my brother. I don't know if I should. And then she immediately is like, oh, have you heard of my brother? And I'm like, why? Like, I didn't really understand like why they made her like talk internally about the stuff that she wanted to talk about like 3 seconds before she talked about it, because that didn't really make her character any more interesting to me. And so she spends the course of the game like trying to find her brother, who she thinks is locked up somewhere in the Bureau of Control. She finds him at a certain point in the game, and he's sort of like still possessed by the hiss. And then I thought that was going to be a big like climactic moment in the game, but it didn't really feel that climactic to me, because he doesn't really like break away from the control of the hiss, and she doesn't really like rescue him in any way. He just sort of like is there. And then she goes off to like fight all this other stuff. And meanwhile, she has this like thing in her head that she calls Polaris, and it's just like this, I don't like, supernatural thing that's like I don't really recall it ever being explained very well in the game. And I mean, you could totally correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's just like she just suddenly is like, oh, I have this thing that like kind of guides me. And I just felt like very just like childish sci-fi to me, and didn't really seem that deep or that interesting. But I don't know, like I will give you the floor to respond to that, because like for that stuff that was happening in the game, I just was like not really interested by anything that was going on.
All right, I will definitely take the other side, because I feel like this was a really interesting and cool story. I will say, just to be fair to you and to be fair to probably everybody else listening, I really, really, really dislike Remedy's habit of leaning on documents. I don't think they need to lean on documents as much as they do. And the last time we talked about this, at the time, I was still of the mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm reading documents and this is fun and cool. I'm usually anti-documents. I'm very anti-documents. I am especially anti... what is it? Voice? What the fuck? What do you call them? Voice track? No, not voice track. Voice clips.
Oh, like an audio log.
Audio log. Thank you. That is the word. That is the English word, which is escaping me at this moment. Super against audio logs and all that shit. But I was down with it for like the first maybe like hour or two. But I will say that I really hate how much they depend on documents and audio logs and videos and all sorts of little things that you pick up, because if there's too much. Just way too much. There's way too much. I think it's fine. And they even bought themselves a little leeway with me, because you're in a federal building and federal employees love protocol. They love paperwork. Everything's filed in triplicate. Like they have these, bureaucracy. Like it makes sense that there would be documents and paperwork and stuff like that. But I feel like you got to be really targeted when you use that. Like if she broke into like an archives room, that would be the perfect time when I'd be like, okay, I am now mentally prepared to read like 20 documents in a row because I'm in the archive room and because I've just gotten through an hour of combat and I'm ready to take a break from that. Like that would be a good use of like how to do that. But in this game, and this has been true of Remedy like since the beginning of time, like they put like at least 1 or 2 documents like in every room. And so you're constantly like picking up something, and then you're never sure how relevant something's going to be. Half the stuff is like flavor text. Half the stuff is just something that might relate to a quest. Some of it is about the story. It's way too much, dude. So I got to be honest, after about the first hour or two, I stopped reading that stuff because it was too much. I was like, I can't do it. This is silly. This is dumb. So that said, I do like what they did with the internal monologue, because not only does it keep it very clear and focused, I think that there's an art to telling a story in a very clear way, and a lot of people, I think, do not have the skill to intelligently follow a complex story. And I don't mean that to sound like a negative, but I mean it's true. Like, having written 2 books and knowing a lot about story and looking at story in video games and thinking about how stories are told and spending a lot of time thinking about it, if you want your story to be clearly told, you have to take extra steps. Like, it doesn't just happen. I mean, there's going to be people who will be very naturally curious and they'll click into whatever you're doing. And there's like a bell curve, right? Like, there's people at the end who will understand whatever you're saying no matter what. There's some people who will never understand what you're saying no matter what. And there's a lot of people in the middle that you can sway. And I think that their approach of being very clear about, like, going to Jesse's internal dialogue and showing it very overtly, I think was good. I know you didn't care for it. And honestly, they could have varied it a little bit. It didn't have to always be her eyes or something. It would have been nice if they had done a few different angles or something. But I like that they took the pause so that you know when she's thinking about it, because that was really some of the only real character work that she gets. And if you think about who her character is, again, going back to an event which happens, it's called, like, the Ordinary event. I don't know if you got into that or not, but there was a number of films in the game that talked about it. People talked about it in dialogue. There were some documents. If you put it all together and just kind of follow it along. So basically what happens is Jesse and her brother, was her brother Dylan? Is that his name?
Yeah,
Dylan?
yeah, Dylan.
Jesse and Dylan, when they're kids, they find this object which has been corrupted by an extra-dimensional influence. And this object is a film projector. They find it in a dump, and it's projecting using spiritual energy or whatever, and it's opening a portal to, like, another dimension. So they get exposed to it, and this thing comes through the portal, and it gets inside of them both. Like, it gets inside of Jesse and it gets inside of Dylan, and that's what Jesse calls Polaris. So it's like this extra-dimensional entity that awakens these abilities in both of them. So contact with this thing from another dimension gives them both this proclivity for special powers. The Bureau of Control comes in, sees what's going on. Jesse leaves the scene because she's freaked out or whatever. Dylan doesn't leave for whatever reason. Maybe he's passed out or something. The Bureau takes the projector and they take Dylan, and then they're just gone. And they don't know what happened to Jesse. They couldn't find Jesse. Jesse doesn't know what happened to Dylan. And then she spends her entire life wondering about this event. And every day since then, she has Polaris in her head, which is not necessarily talking to her, but, like, giving her images or feelings and, like, giving her this ability to do stuff. So, like, when Jesse shows up at the Bureau of Control in the first 5 minutes of the game, she has already spent, like, 20 years or whatever of, like, thinking about, oh, you know, there's this agency, there's these men in black, there are these, the X-Files, it's a real thing, I saw it with my eyes, they kidnapped my brother. Like, she's been one of these tinfoil hat-wearing UFO people, the people who were camped outside Area 51 in Arizona or whatever. Like, she's one of those people. So she's already, like, really, like, inclined to doing that. But on top of that, her experience with Polaris has given her powers already. Like, she already has limited powers, and she already has, like, the force push when she gets there. Like, that's just off the shelf. So she's lived a life where she's already is, like, tangibly proven to be an extra sensory, special person. So I liked that she had, like, a lot of this internal dialogue, and she would think about, I'm used to being weird. I don't know what people are going to think of me. I don't know what these people in the Control Bureau are they also weird? Are they going to think this is normal? Like, so, like, that kind of process of her kind of deciding how much to share and when in the face of everything that was going on, I thought was pretty good. And it was really clear. They really took steps to really lay it out in a way that was very easy to absorb, which I appreciate. I don't like it when game writers assume too much, or they drop a few crumbs here and there and think that people are smart enough to tag along. I am often not smart enough to tag along. I often want it spelled out for me in certain ways because I don't feel like the cues that work for me necessarily work for other people. So I like how simple it was. And I do really like the story because Jesse's character made sense to me and the events of the world made sense to me. Like, if you think about, like, Lovecraft stuff, otherworldly stuff, extra-dimensional stuff, X-Files, Men in Black, like, that's really what Control is all about. Like, it's about a person getting into that agency and realizing that the world is, like, so much crazier. And she talks about that poster metaphor. I totally agree that they do not handle it as well as they could in the first the first time they bring it up, because she's like, oh, there's a poster, and you pull the poster back, but when she brings it up at the end, she's like, oh yeah, the Shawshank Redemption. And if anybody's seen the Shawshank Redemption, you've seen it, haven't you? I'm sure.
I have not seen it.
Oh shit, you haven't? Okay.
I know.
That 100% explains why it doesn't make sense to you, because they are directly referencing the Shawshank Redemption. Number one, go watch that movie. That's an incredible movie. You should go watch that movie. But in the Shawshank Redemption, just a very brief spoiler to explain why she references that. In the Shawshank Redemption, there's a prisoner, excuse me, and he is carving a hole through the wall in his cell, and he covers up the hole by putting a poster over it. So whenever the guards come to like toss his cell, they never think to like remove the poster from the wall. And he's got like this giant tunnel in back of the wall. And so when she's referencing the poster, she's like, oh, you know, it looks like just a wall, but when you peel the poster back, there's this tunnel that leads to like the entire outside world, or in Control's case, it leads to like all these other dimensions, all these other realities, all these other crazy dark things that you don't realize are there if you peel the poster back. So, I mean, granted, not the best metaphor, and I think it helps. I mean, I think as you proved, you must see the Shawshank Redemption in order to even understand what she's talking about. But I mean, it was fine. I mean, it worked for me. It could have been done better, but it was all right. But I really like just how you get into it, and she just likes being there because it's kind of like the validation for her whole life of being a tin hat person. And her brother's actually there, so it proves that she wasn't crazy. Like, the projector's there, so like everything that she thought was true actually is true. And it's just like this giant like reward for her. So it makes sense that she would want to be there, that she would want to dig into like what's going on, to get to know the people. And then on top of that, I mean, you know, she becomes a director like in the first 5 minutes. So of course that's like another, wow, this is something I've wanted my whole life. And not only am I here, I am in charge of all of it. And then, I mean, how big of a crazy thing is that? So I really liked it a lot. I thought the story was great. And I liked one thing that I liked, which maybe you don't like, or I'm not sure what you think about this, but not everything in this game is really clearly spelled out. They have Jesse talk to these extra-dimensional entities called the Board, and they are clearly creatures from another dimension who are getting through to Earth dimension and working with the Bureau of Control. So she's talking to them. They're not fully explained. There's one creature that is like a defector from the Board, and you fight that creature later on, and so they don't really fully explain that. There's all sorts of other... They don't fully explain, like, where the hiss come from. They don't fully explain where, like, Polaris came from, or, like, how she activated Jesse's powers. Like, are they from Polaris, or did Jesse already have them? But that's fine. I mean, I think in a lot of stories like this, you don't ever get, like, full explanations. Sometimes you just have to assume that, like, the universe is like a giant mystery, and sometimes you just never understand things, and sometimes things happen for a reason that maybe you're not privy to that reason, but things are still there. And, you know, I kind of like that it all wasn't tied up in a knot. Like, it really captures that, like, otherness, that, like, really alien feeling of, like, being a very small part of a huge machine and just not being able to take in the big picture. I mean, that's a very common theme in a lot of Lovecraft stories, and I think that was really well captured here. I know that not a lot of people are tagging Lovecraft in with this particular game, but I think that they have a lot of that flavor.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, like, didn't... I think part of this, and like I said earlier, is that, like, I think from the get-go, the dialogue was just so, like, not interesting to me that I just basically kind of stopped paying attention. And then whenever I saw how many, like, you know, audio logs and documents and stuff that were in the game, I just kind of got really turned off to the story and immediately just, like, didn't really pay that much attention to what was going on. And like, the whole, like, Shawshank Redemption thing, like, I think it's, like, probably, and this isn't the first, like, medium that I've seen do this, but, like, if, like, one of your, like, biggest plot points is basically just a reference to something else that kind of goes unexplained, I just think that's really, like, pretentious and kind of, like, lazy, where, like, because there's always, and, you know, haha, like, I'm the loser here because I didn't know what it was about, but, like, I don't know, it's just, like, the kind of, like, writing where it's, like, all it does is just, like, reference other things, and if you don't know what those things are, then you completely, like, miss out on the experience. And, I mean, I've seen this in other, you know, games and movies and stuff, where it's just, like, I don't know, I don't really buy that. Like, I would rather, like, the sort of, like, hinge of, like, this theme that the game opens on be, like, something that they came up with themselves, and not just, like, oh, well, if you've seen this movie, then, like, of course you'll get it. I just think that's, like, really stupid and not interesting at all.
Yeah, I agree that they shouldn't have pinned so much on that one metaphor. But I do think that the game stands on its own. I mean, I think that if you hadn't read Lovecraft, if you hadn't seen Shawshank, if you hadn't watched X-Files or whatever, I think it captures that same spirit without necessarily having to draw on those things as references. But of course, I think if you have seen those things, then your enjoyment would be much more, and definitely amplified for sure. But I mean, one thing that I do want to talk about also is the pacing. I think that we both were really fans of the pacing, and I really liked how you were able to go back and talk to those characters. I like the characters a lot more than you did, clearly. I thought the characters were great. I enjoyed coming back and talking to them, and I was always looking forward to what their next dialogue would be because they all seem like lifers in the agency, and they're all like really dedicated to their departments, and they've all been there for years, and so they're very used to weirdness being the norm. And so talking to these people I thought was just really, really funny. Like there's a guy who's in the containment department who's like really worried about his cat, and that's his biggest focus is his cat, even though he's got like all these crazy possessed items going around. And there's a guy in security who's kind of like, he's kind of bummed that all his teammates have been killed, but he's trying to just take it on the chin and just roll with it. And the lady who's like the science lab, who's like the super science nerd, and she's like super into her research. And I mean, it seems like these guys didn't connect with you at all, but I thought they were a cute bunch, and I thought it was really fun to go back and talk to them over and over. And I like that you had the ability to, that you weren't only seeing them in specific cutscenes every 2 hours or whatever. Like you could take a break from the combat and come back and talk to these people if you wanted to, see if they had any quests to offer you. And like also with the rest of the game, like as you're going through the building, you have time to explore, and then you'll kill a couple guys, and then you'll just be left alone for like a little while. Just check out the hallways and check out the weird artifacts and look at things, and then maybe they'll pop up and have a quick skirmish, and then you go back to exploring. I mean, I really liked the back and forth between cool down, nothing going on, exploring time, just being in the space time, as opposed to the hot, fast, intense combat time. And I feel like they really did a great job of balancing that in conjunction with having those NPCs around. I was very surprised that there were NPCs. I was expecting nothing but combat from start to finish. So that the fact that like the control bureau was taking back certain wings and certain people had like safe zones, I thought was really cool. But what did you think of the pacing overall?
I did like the pacing because I was kind of expecting almost like a Max Payne type thing where you just kind of get in and like all you do over the entire course of the game is just like shoot people and then enter the next room and shoot people and enter the next room and shoot people. And to be frank, if that sort of had been the setup for this game, I think the combat is good enough that would have been fine for me. But it just, and this is part of the reason why I'm not as satisfied with the story either, is that like the combat and the pacing and like the set design, and I know we'll like, kind of talk about the building itself in a minute here, but like that is so impressive to me that I almost like didn't really need the story at all. Like it kind of feels to me sort of like how maybe like Silent Hill 2 is, where you like get to the city and it's just so strange and so weird and so mysterious that like I don't really need the game to kind of like shove a story down my throat. And I feel a little bit like Control was kind of doing that, where I wish that if it would have had like half as much dialogue, I probably would have been really happy, because I don't need, like, I don't want to talk to people. Like it has kind of a Mass Effect thing going on where you can like you were talking about, go back and talk to the NPCs, go back and talk to the different like executives that are in their wings. But every time I got an objective from one of them to go do something, like and then I saw that it was like, oh, here's your dialogue options if you want to ask them any questions. I was like, no, like I don't want to ask these people anything. Like the last thing I want to do is like stand around and listen to this like kind of boringly written dialogue that thinks it's more interesting than it is. So like I didn't ask anybody anything. I was like, all right, give me my mission. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Like, because I wanted to go like look at the building. I didn't want to look at these weird executive people that are around. Like I wanted to go explore the building. I wanted to go fight stuff, because like the set dressing and like the set design and the just like the flavor and attitude of the atmosphere is so strong that I didn't want to listen to people talk. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to read stuff. I didn't want to do audio logs. Like I just wanted to go explore, because everything is so well designed. And I mean, maybe if the building had been less cool, I would have wanted to talk to people more. Like maybe it's so like I'm in a weird kind of catch-22 situation here, but just like the Bureau itself was so cool, and like the way that they pace, like the action and the exploration was so like sort of like it just breathed a lot more than I expected it to. I just wanted to go out and explore. I didn't want to be stuck in a boardroom talking to some lady who just sat on her ass the entire time while I was out fighting everything. Like, I wanted to go do the things and go see the things, so I just was not interested in any of the people that were, like, trying to get me to stop and talk to him.
Okay, well, I mean, that's fair. I thought they were really cool, and I liked... That was one of my favorite parts, was coming back and talking to people. I was really excited when they had new dialogue, and, you know, very frequently they gave out quests that you probably wouldn't have found otherwise, like, if you didn't go through the dialogue. I mean, that's actually one thing that I think is really interesting about this game, is, like, a lot of this game is there to be discovered, but it is not in the critical path, and they don't really do a lot to, like, put you on the path to discovering those things, which I think is cool because it makes it feel like more of a discovery. This is a quality that I think was really, it's a really bold quality, and I like when developers take that risk of saying, hey, we spent all this time making this quest or making this NPC or doing this, creating this cool room. If you search around, you're going to find it, and it's like a little reward, an Easter egg for you when you find it. But if you don't want to look for it, if you want to just keep on the critical path, we're not going to stop you. But if you do go out of your path and find this thing, it's like this really awesome, you know, like a big reward for actually taking the time to go find something like that. So I really like that a lot. And I got to say, it made me very excited and very motivated to talk to people and to keep looking at documents and things, because there are a couple side quests that you only find by picking up a document. Like, no one will ever tell you about it. It will never pop up on your radar unless you pick up a certain document. And there's certain quests where you will never get this quest unless you talk to this, you know, XYZ person 1 or 2 or 3 times. If you keep coming back, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, by the way, I need you to do this thing. And then you go do this quest, and then all of a sudden it's like you get like a new power, like this all new power, or like this, like some of the rewards were like pretty major, I thought. So like it felt really worthwhile to do that. But I mean, if you think they're boring, I totally get that. I didn't think they were boring. I really enjoyed going back to and talking to them, and I liked the cast of characters very much. I thought they were very cool and cute, and it was just I always looked forward to seeing what they were going to say, because there was always something that I thought was pretty entertaining. So
well, now I'm just nervous that I missed a bunch of quests and stuff because I didn't waste a lot of time talking to people. Now I'm nervous.
I guarantee that if you did not talk to everybody, and you weren't picking up those documents, you did miss some quests. I think in the game, I want to say there's like 13 or 15 optional side quests. Some of them are pretty major, some of them are minor, but a lot of them you're gonna just miss if you don't take the time to do that. But I like that they leave it up to you. Like, it's okay. Like, they don't shove it down your throat. If you want to just crit path, you totally can. And I think that's really, I mean, honestly, I think that's the best game design overall in general for any game. Give me the option to crit path and just get through it if I want to, but if I want more, let me choose how much I want to get through. That's one of my favorite ways to design a game, and they really nail it, like, so hard to control. I really like that I had the choice to kind of self-regulate how much action I wanted, how much downtime I wanted, how much exploration I wanted. I love that they left that up to me, and it just was so satisfying because I was in charge, and that was a good feeling.
Yeah, I did, after I finished the game, I found an entire quest, the one where you like go all the way down to the basement and there's like the bitchy scientist down there and you have to do like the mold quest. I had no idea that even existed, and I just like happened to find that like crater, and I like jumped down that hole because you have to have like the floating ability to do it or else you'll just fall and die. And I went down there and I was like, oh, I haven't been down here yet. And then I like kept going, and suddenly there was a little research center with a lady in it, and she was talking about the mold and how I had to go, I don't know, explore it and destroy this mold monster. And like, that was a pretty good situation, which I was glad that I was actually out exploring, which is my favorite thing to do in the game. Because if I hadn't, you know, I mean, I had to have the jump, the floating ability first, but if I hadn't thought to come back and jump down that hole, then I would have never even seen that part of the game, but I'm glad that I did.
That is a really cool quest, because you can find that one just on your own as soon as you get the float, or someone will tell you about it later on at the end of the game. But that's exactly like, just like you're saying, like, you're walking around and you see something and you're like, well, that's weird. Like, I mean, obviously, like this, they have it cordoned off, there's mold on the ground, there's a giant hole. It's really inviting you to go jump down there and see what's down there. And there's an absolute reward. There's like there's a new NPC down there. There's like a whole wing of the building you haven't seen before. There's a whole giant quest, like a multi-part quest that goes down there. And it's like that with the rest of the game too. Like, if you look around, I mean, this is one game where it really rewards observation, where if you're really looking at your environment, you're really taking in what's going on, there's actual stuff that's hidden. And I love the fact that it's not just something weird and you just go about your business. Like, there's something weird, but then there's like a quest, or there's like a hidden person, or there's like a monster, or there's a reward. So they really took the time to like lay those Easter eggs in this environment, which really makes it worthwhile to explore and not just take in the sights, but also to really think about it and process it and examine it. I feel like it's very rich environment, which I really, really liked a lot. Let's talk about some of these side quests, dude, because I fucking love the side quests. I have not 100%ed a game since I don't even know when. I think probably Darkest Dungeon was the last time I did that, and that was like 3 or 4 years ago. So I haven't really cared enough about a game to want 100% it, but this was a game where I wanted to talk to everybody. I wanted to do all the quests. I wanted to do all the side quests. I wanted to finish all the stuff. So a lot of these quests, like we just mentioned, are optional. What side quests did you do, or which ones did you like, or what caught your fancy about some of these?
Well, I liked like the mold one that I just talked about. I liked that one because it was pretty unexpected. But the other one that stands out for me that I immediately think of is the refrigerator one.
I love the refrigerator one.
Yeah, it was just weird because like at a certain point in the game, you get to a sort of like containment center where I can't. Are they called altered items? What are they called, Brad?
I think they're altered items. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so it's basically like any of these items in the world that have sort of been like possessed by the hiss or whatever. And there's one where there's a dude sitting in this like conference room and he's looking at this refrigerator, and you go up to him and he's like, oh, I can't, if I stop looking at this refrigerator, like something will happen. I have to keep looking at it. And so you go into the room to like release him essentially from looking at this fridge, which sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. And whenever you go into the room, there's this brilliant moment where like there's kind of like a room between the conference room and where you are. And as you're en route, he like dies or disappears. And so you get in there and suddenly he's gone, which was great. And then the fridge kind of like absorbs you, and there's this thing in the game called the astral plane, and it's kind of used for like a lot of the tutorial stuff where like if you get a new power, you like warp to the astral plane and it like shows you how to use it. And in this situation you get warped to the astral plane, but there's this like giant boss creature thing that's like this big, I don't even know how to explain it. Like in most of the game you're fighting things that appear to be pretty human like, but this thing is just like this giant, like almost like insect-looking thing, and it has like this giant eyeball that shoots a laser down to you, and I thought it was like a pretty compelling boss fight, and I enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't enjoy was that I fell off the platform like twice and died, which was really annoying, but I thought it was like, as far as boss fights go, I thought it was pretty well done, and it was just unexpected, like, oh, there's this weird fridge that somebody's watching, and then suddenly you get like sucked into the altered world astral plane, and then you have to like fight this giant insect laser shooting demon thing, and it was just really kind of off the wall and unexpected, but I did enjoy that one.
That is a perfect example. I thought that quest was super cool because the dude watching the fridge is just kind of like really funny and weird and just unexpected. And then it also plays into like the rest of the game because that monster that you fight is called the Former, and he, I think, is one of the board members who is no longer with the board. So he's kind of like, he left or he got exiled or something. And so like if you talk to the board about him, they're like, oh yeah, fuck that guy, he's not with us anymore. And so it kind of like it illustrates a little bit of like the backstory, the other parts of the world where there's like a war on like multiple planes. Like in this other dimension, there are these creatures who are fighting for control. Like the board hates the hiss, and the hiss want to take over the board. And there's this other guy who left the board, and he hates the board. And so there's all these other factors and forces that you don't know about that are happening on other planes of existence. And so that was a pretty cool quest. It's one of the few times that you fight a non-human enemy, and it's a really like you said, very compelling. It's very surprising. It's very unlike anything else you've seen up until that point. And you're not expecting to see like this giant fucking monster show up out of nowhere. Because you've only seen like, you know, the hiss guys who look like humans who are kind of glowing red or something. And it's just like, you just don't see it coming. So that's pretty cool. I love that quest a lot. I love the one where you go down to find the mold in the basement. I thought that was really cool. I liked, did you do the mirror quest?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to bring this up. Yeah, the mirror one is great.
Yeah, I love the mirror quest. Somebody tells you about a mirror. Somehow you figure out that there's a mirror you need to go find. I forget where you pick up the clue for it, but you go find the mirror and it's like locked away. And there's this it's just like a one-off puzzle. It's like the only puzzle of its kind in the game, which I thought happened a couple times where you would do one thing that wasn't repeated. But I thought that puzzle actually was really kind of hard because you really had to twist your brain around to figure out which way to solve it. There's like a mirror. You're looking through a camera that's looking through a mirror, and you got to figure out which way to like flip these switches, and once you get in there and then you fight like this mirror version of yourself, like, you know, Dark Jessie or whatever, or in the game they call her East Edge or whatever. It's like Jessie backwards, you know, which is kind of funny. But that was just like a cool battle. Like, it's not exactly 100% explained why that is. It's just like something weird. It's like an X-Files thing that happens. You can kind of guess what's coming because it's a mirror. And I mean, you know, what else do you do in a mirror except for fight images of yourself or whatever? But it was just a really cool battle. Like, out of nowhere, different, unexpected. You don't have to do it at all. You can totally just walk right by it and skip it if you want to. You might not even know that it's even there. But you do it, and it's like really cool. It's a cool fight, cool environment, cool flavor. And when you leave that room, there's just like a suit. Like, you get a cool reward for it too. Like, it's easy to miss. It's not thrown in your face, but if you notice that it's there, you can pick it up, and you got a whole new outfit for Jessie. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty excellent. And not to mention, like, the boss fight itself, it took me probably like 6 or 7 tries to beat it because it's really challenging, but also like challenging in all of the right ways, which is how I felt about most, but not all of the combat in the game.
I would agree. Did you do the Mr. Tomasi quest?
Yeah, and his second boss fight was so fucking hard, and I was really annoyed whenever I was doing that one.
Yeah, that is, I think, the hardest fight in the game. I think that was hard for like just a cheap reason because he kept having enemies spawn in on you, and plus he does like a shitload of damage if he catches you with one of his attacks. I did not enjoy that one. I finished it, but it took me like 8 or 10 tries, and I did not like it very much. But I'm glad that in general, most of the combat is pretty doable once you get a good rhythm down. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, the developer's intention of having you do powers. When your powers are on cooldown, you fall back to your gun, you shoot your gun. When your gun's out of ammo, your powers have probably cooled off by that point, so you can do the powers. Going back and forth was a really smart choice. Keeps the pace up all the time, gives you lots of options, keeps things from feeling too stale. And I think that in general, most of the challenges in the game are pretty doable once you know what the enemies do. You might die once, but then you're like, oh, okay, well, this is the guy that bum rushes me, or oh, this is the guy that shoots grenades or something. And once you know that's coming, you're probably not going to fall for it the second time. So I thought that was a fine learning curve. The only problem I had, besides the Mr. Tomasi one, which I thought was very difficult, and I did think that fighting Dark Jessie was a little challenging. I had to do that one a couple times too. But like the final gauntlet as you're going.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, man. Like we've already said, this game's checkpoints are bullshit, and I do feel that this game's checkpoints are bullshit. Rather than getting sent back to your last hard save point, just start me back outside the door of the room where I died, just like a normal game does these days. That's just how games do it these days, guys. Just FYI. That is what I wanted. That's not what you get. You get sent back, and when you're in the final leg of the game, oh my god, dude, I die. There's like 5 portions of this like big, tall spiral room you have to get through, and each level of the floor rises when you beat the last one. So you're kind of like climbing a tower a little bit, and it just gets harder and harder as you get up. I died at the 5th fucking section so many times. I was losing my shit because then you got to go back. Not only are you not even in the room, so you got to get back to the room, but then you got to get through the first 4 sections again. It was just like bullshit. They give you one checkpoint in there where you can eventually start, I think at the 2nd phase of the fight. But oh man, it was just like a lot to get through. I was just losing my shit, dude, because I could get through those other parts no problem. It was just the 5th one, and that one took me forever to get past. I mean, did you have a tough time there too?
Oh yeah, I was not pleased about that last fight, and I also saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining about the last fight. And the other like thing about the fight that's incredibly annoying is that, like you said, as you're on the platforms that are rising up, you're getting higher in the air. You can fall off of the goddamn platform. And the thing that really pissed me off about that is that the game has a like jump and float hover mechanism, but if you fall off of something, you cannot engage the float. You can only engage it if you jump. And so every time I fell off of a platform, I was like, oh, I'll just hold X and then float, you know, like Princess Peach in Super Mario Brothers 2, like to the next platform and land like a graceful princess that I am. But no, if you fall off a platform, you cannot engage the float and you have no choice but to just fall to your death. And I think I did that like 3 times in the final fight. And I know it was my own fault because I'm a fucking idiot, but like the room is very dark, the platforms are black, so it's like hard to see, and then you fall off, and then you're just tumbling to your death in the air, and it was incredibly annoying.
Yeah, I died multiple times by dodging and not realizing which direction out, like realizing how close to
like
the edge I
dodging
was.
right off the edge.
Yeah, dodging off the edge. And this is a dark game, dude. Like, we haven't really talked about it, but I think this game does pretty well with like colors and design. And I think the oldest house looks pretty cool. But it's a really dark game. I don't know about you, but I had to turn the brightness up pretty far. And even with the brightness up pretty far, there were still multiple times when I felt like I was in a room that was just really too dark. And I get that dark is spooky and it sets a mood. But, like, you have to just see what's going on. Like, video fucking games, guys. Like, I need to see the video. And, yeah, that part, I dodged off the platform several times. When we were fighting that big monster, like, he makes holes in the ground that I thought were, like, impossible to see until you were, like, already falling through them.
Well, yeah, because you're looking up at his stupid ass for the whole fight.
Exactly. You're looking up at him because he's huge. He somehow makes the floor fall away, and you don't see the floor falling away, so you don't know it's there. That was what killed me more than anything, was falling through the floor with that guy. And I gotta just say, falling into a pit is a super unsatisfying way to die, especially when you don't just take like a little bit of damage and get reset to the platform. You got to go all the way back to your last save point, which I felt like, again, really bad system. Did not like that. I was not a fan of that. But so we get through these sections. Let's talk about the story again for a second. I heard a lot of people saying that they really disliked the ending, that they thought the ending was terrible. Like I mentioned before, I hate this phrase, but many people described it as a big wet fart, which I really don't like. I don't like that phrase at all, but that was what came up a lot. And I asked you before, without spoilers, if you thought the ending was good or bad. I think you said it was bad.
I did say it was bad.
Okay, good. Now that we are talking about it without spoiler concerns, what did you think of the ending? Why did you think it was bad? What was your take on the ending?
Well, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to give myself the tiniest cop-out here and say that because I found the story so unsatisfying and slightly hard to follow, that, like, the ending kind of... I don't really think there's anything that could have happened at the ending that would have been, like, a great payoff for me, but my sort of takeaway from the ending was, like the driving force of the game is sort of like her trying to find her brother. And about 60% of the way through the game, she finds her brother, and then that plot thread is, like, kind of dropped for a while, and I was like, okay, like... this was the whole point of coming here, Jesse, was to, like, find him. And I'm not saying that at the end of the game I was expecting them to, like, exit the bureau and, like, ride off into the sunset together on a motorcycle. Like, I didn't really think that was going to happen. But, like, the ending of the game just felt really unfinished to me in a way where it was sort of like your sort of classic, like, okay, the game is over, but there's still work to do, so I'm gonna stick around. And it's like, it's like every RPG or like every open world game does this, where like it doesn't have a very good like definitive ending, and then the character just like wakes up the next day and is like, oh, well, there's still work to be done, so I'm gonna stick around. And that's just very like how it felt to me. Like, it didn't really feel like it had a very good sort of like finite ending, or even, I don't know, it was just like, okay, we did this last fight and we blew up this like tank thing that was in the air, but okay, I guess I'll just stick around because there's more work to do. And I don't know, I didn't really feel very satisfied by like anything at the end of the game. And I was also really frustrated by the last boss fight, or not boss fight, but like the last platform fight, so that certainly didn't help because I was really frustrated on top of that. And then when the credits rolled, I was just like, wow, that's it? Like, you're just sticking around and that's the end of the game? Like, and I just felt kind of unfinished to me.
Well, I was also frustrated. I will say that I was feeling really high on this game all the way through, and I still like it. But like that particular moment, when I was doing the boss fight, that did start to erode some of the goodwill, because, falling off a platform doesn't feel good. It's a pretty grueling stretch that you got to get through. It's pretty long. The save point is pretty far back. So that kind of took away from it. But when you finally get through that last section, and then the credits roll the first time and it's like a fake out, and then like
I did like that, because when the credits rolled, I was sitting on the couch in disbelief, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That was really the end? Like, are you serious? Are you serious, Remedy? And then you notice the text and the credits starts getting weird, and it's like, it was very like Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem moment, where like she's hallucinating and the game fakes you out, and then there's more to it. I did really like that, but even the ending after that on top of it, I was still like, I'm not really into this. But the credits fake out I thought was pretty brilliant.
Yeah, there was actually a surprising amount of game left after the credits rolled, and I was really surprised by that, and I was like, oh my god, like how how deep does this go? Like, what is going to happen here? So that was really interesting. I thought that whole part was really cool. And I think that by the time that you get there, Jessie kind of realizes like it's more than just about her brother. I mean, that is definitely the big driving force for her going there. But once she gets there and she realizes like the hiss is like a danger to like the entire Earth, and that these people are here doing all this work that she never knew was being done, and she's finally in a place where she's not weird anymore. She's like accepted for just who she is, and that whole thing added more to the equation than just her wanting to get her brother back. And then when she goes through all the stuff about figuring out exactly what happened, and she realizes that this event that happened to her as a child is really like the instigating factor for so many things that happened after that. I think it made sense to me that she wanted to stay. I mean, not only is she already the director, so she doesn't need to work her way up or anything, but she's seeing how she is part of this picture and how the world is so much larger than she thought it was, and there's so much more to it. And this is kind of what she's wanted to aim her life for ever since she was a kid. And now that she's there, she's like in the thick of it. And so it made sense that she would want to stay and figure things out and want to just keep working towards what she's working on. I mean, I'm sure that we're probably going to talk to Dylan in one of the DLCs. I would be surprised if we didn't come back to that. I felt like that was just put on pause for a while, and I'm sure we're going to get back to it. I think also one of the NPCs is left dangling. It was the really strong black lady. I think her name was Marshall. Is that right?
Yeah.
She goes off to do something, and she says she's going to go to this location. If you go to the location, she's not there, and then people are like, oh, we don't know what happened to her. She's gone. I would not be at all surprised if, going after Marshall was like one of the quests, if figuring out how to save Dylan and stop the Hiss once and for all is one of the quests in the DLC coming up. So I'm assuming we're going to get more of that. But as it stands, just on its own, I was pretty satisfied with Dylan kind of left a question mark in a coma, and her staying there because now she's kind of found her new place in the world and has a purpose. She doesn't feel weird anymore. She feels like she is that way for a reason, and now she can do some good with it. So I thought that was pretty fun. I was pretty happy with it. And I was honestly surprised that so many people really took offense to that ending, because a lot of people really did not like that ending, which I thought was kind of strange. I mean, I get why you don't like it, but in general, I thought it would have been at least like a meh, but a lot of people were kind of angry about it, which I don't quite get the anger, but to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, I think the thing that, because I didn't really feel like necessarily mad about it, I was just kind of disappointed. But the thing that I was a little bit mad about was like the week after Control came out, I saw like either like the Control Twitter account or Remedy or whoever like tweeting about like, oh, well, we already have these 3 DLC packs planned, and I was like, of course you do. Like, the ending was disappointing, and now you're gonna like charge us for these 3 DLC packs so you can like, I don't know, wait to end the game better later. And not only that, but the 3rd DLC pack is going to have some crossover with Alan Wake, and I did not like Alan Wake, so I'm like not very pumped about like whatever weird crossover they're going to end up doing. Truth be told, I thought the game was gonna cross over with Quantum Break instead of Alan Wake, because a lot of the themes are similar to how the supernatural forces like act in the world between Quantum Break and Control. But I feel like Alan Wake is probably, I mean, I'm sure Max Payne is probably like their most popular game, but Alan Wake isn't that far behind, so it makes sense that maybe they would want to go back to something that has more of like a cult following, because I don't think Quantum Break was that popular. But I'm not super pumped about like however they're going to draw those 2 stories together.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the connection was. I know that some people said that there were some documents you could find that tied Alan Wake and Control together. And I did hear one audio log that was the same radio station that was in Alan Wake. And I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. It's been a while since I played it. But I skipped over Quantum Break because I wasn't the biggest fan of Alan Wake. There was parts of it that I liked, but overall, I'm not going to say that I was the biggest fan of it. And in fact, in Alan Wake, the best part of the entire experience was like the DLC. The DLC was better than the main game. So I was not that big a fan, but it does make sense that they would tie it together, because Alan Wake was all about, extra dimensional, paranormal, something weird going on. Exactly the same thing the Control is about. I don't know what Quantum Break was about. I mean, you didn't play it, did you, or did you?
Yeah, I played it and reviewed it for Game Critics, yo.
Man, I don't remember that. I don't keep that stuff in my hard drive. Does this seem like the potential to cross over? I mean, that was about like time travel or something, or time powers or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Quantum Break was more about like it was sort of like this time machine explodes, and then there's these like weird time pockets all over the world. But it just had a lot of similarities with Control because like a certain event happens. There's certain parts of the I don't know, physical space that have been altered in a way, and the characters in both games wear these vests to like keep themselves safe from whatever thing is going on, and it's more of like there's like a corporate team that's kind of working on the thing at hand, whereas in Alan Wake there's no like it's just like him, like it's him exploring these supernatural forces going on, and there's not really like a big driving force behind it, or not like an event I remember that like triggered everything. So I don't know, I just kind of expected Control and Quantum Break to tie in together a little bit, but I mean, I don't really care because I didn't care that much about Alan Wake or Quantum Break, so it's not like I was like really banking on it tying into Quantum Break because I love Quantum Break so much. But I'm just kind of curious to see what they're gonna do with Alan Wake and Control together.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Wake, just frankly speaking, was a dick. He was a terrible character.
Yeah, he was awful. Yeah,
he was an asshole. He was an asshole that I did not enjoy playing. So it's not like I want him to come back and be like, oh yeah, Alan, so good. It's like, fuck off, Alan. You were like a really rude dude. He was terrible to everybody in his game, and he was just a jerk. So I'm not like super looking forward to seeing Alan Wake again. But some of the stuff that came up in some of the DLCs I thought was interesting, and they started to kind of find their groove just as it was ending, which I always thought was really unfortunate. I wish they had put some of the stuff from the DLC in the main game. It would have made a much better game. But we'll see how that ties up. But I am looking forward to more DLC. I definitely want to play more of Control. I feel like I did everything that was worth doing, and I still wasn't quite satisfied. I think I had like withdrawals like the next day where I wanted to play it, but I didn't really have any reason to play it because I had done everything. And I don't just play a game just to, I would have felt like I was wasting my time if I had played it just to play it. So I'm definitely looking forward to more DLC. That would actually be welcome. I'm not usually one to say that, but I want more. It's not often that a game leaves me wanting more, but I definitely want more.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I hope that Remedy keeps on their track record of taking a game and making like even better DLC for it, because I've gone back to play Control even after finishing all of like the side quests, or at least all the ones that I think are in the game. And like I do like the world, and I like exploring it, and I like the combat, but I don't like I want more to do. Like I want a better reason to explore, and I feel like just running around from department to department fighting and whatever enemy encounters happen isn't quite enough to pull me back in. So I definitely want a reason to go back, and that's something that I feel like you and I kind of don't express often. Like if certain games are banked on replayability, like Hitman, I'm totally the person who will go back and play a mission like 45 times to do whatever I need to do in it. But Control is not really like, there's not like a big replayability factor for it. Like after you do the side quest, it's kind of over with. And I do really want more to play. And the other thing that's interesting about Control is like once you finish it, you can load your save and, go explore and do whatever you want. But on the main menu, there is a mission select option, which I think is pretty fascinating. But the thing that bothers me, and I haven't tried this yet, but I went back, I was going to go back and play the final mission the other night just so I could like really refresh myself on how the game ended in order to do, proper research for the show and all that. And I went to the mission select screen, and I went to select the final mission, and there was like the message that came up, and it said something like, oh, this will like overwrite your progress. And I don't know if that meant like overwrite my entire game or it'll take me back,
like reset your character maybe.
I didn't know, and so I didn't do it because I didn't want it to reset the character, and the game doesn't have individual save slots, so I couldn't just be like, oh well, I'll save this one in slot 2 and keep my end game one for slot 1. So I wish that they were a little more transparent about that, because I would like to go back and play some of the missions because they're good, but I don't want to like erase my character's build or like kneecap myself or like whatever, and the game is not upfront enough about that for me to feel confident like pressing the OK button. So that's a little bit worrisome for me.
Agreed. I didn't mess with that at all. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I didn't want to have an oops moment or anything like that, because I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but at one point when I was in the last mission, I was in the very last mission, my save data corrupted. I posted about it on Twitter.
Oh, I missed that.
I was
Ah.
totally freaking out because it corrupted it right in the middle of the last battle. And I'm like, oh my God, like I love this game, but I don't know that I love it to play it completely over from the start just to get back to the last battle where my save ruined. Luckily, the online save was still valid, and so I deleted the old one and downloaded the cloud save, and it saved me. I went back to right where I was. I didn't lose any progress, but I did break out into a cold sweat at that moment. I was like, oh my God, I hope this isn't gone. But yeah, I mean, I think I hear what you're saying. I do have a question for you, but I do want to say I don't have a good reason to come back. If there was an end to the hiss, like if you could keep fighting those battles and eventually wipe them all out, like that would be enough for me to go back. I don't think there's an end to them. I don't think you can finish them off, and there is nothing else to do. But on the plus side, the DLC can be anything. I mean, given the ethereal nature of the oldest house and the dimensional points that it connects to and all these different things you can do. I mean, the DLC can be literally anything, which I think is great. It's a great place to be, where you could go to a different dimension. You could have different monsters you've never seen before. You could have all sorts of different physics rules. You could have anything. Anything could happen, and it's explained within the fiction. So I feel really positive about where Remedy left this. Huge potential for expanded adventures. Huge potential for new characters, new scenarios. They did not paint themselves into a corner, which I think is great. So I'm very excited about that. I do want to ask you though, real quickly, when you finished the game, did you completely max out your character and your weapon, or what? How did you leave that?
I was not maxed out, and even after finishing all of the side quests, I still have like 3 or 4 tiers to my powers that I haven't finished yet, and more gun levels to unlock, and I am not in the mood to grind through like the stupid like go to the executive wing and kill 3 floating hiss with the shotgun. Like I don't want to do that to get those points. So I'm a little bit perturbed that you're not really like able to level up everything without grinding excessively. I think that's pretty annoying.
Okay, I was curious about that because I was getting a lot of different answers on that because I went through, played the game, did all the missions, did all the side quests. The only thing I haven't done is I didn't do a bunch of those timed missions, and I didn't find the secret areas, which I said I didn't even know they even existed until after I beat the game. And I did not. I still have one gun that needs its last power up, and I still have 3 or 4 slots on one of my powers to level up. And I was really fucking annoyed because I figure if you do everything in the game, you should be able to get your points all the way up, and you should be maxed out. But I was talking to people who said they had like tons, like 13 and 15 points left over they didn't have a use for. And people who were like surprised that I didn't max everything out. And I'm like, I don't understand how I'm playing so differently than you. I'm doing the exact same thing. It's not like I can just grind forever. Maybe they did grind forever. I don't know. But like, it was like a lot of people had surplus and I didn't even have enough. So that was really weird. I'm not going to stress about it. Maybe that when the DLC comes out, I'll just naturally pick up those extra things and finish up. But I would have liked to have finished it off. That was kind of a bummer. Anyway, one other thing, we haven't really talked about it, but there's one particular mission that I think is a standout that most people point to as probably the best mission in the game. I don't know if you agree or not, because I think a lot of these missions are really cool. But it was a highlight, the ashtray maze. You know, the ashtray maze?
Oh, of course I do.
Of course you do. Did you think this... Tell us briefly what it is, and did you think it was the best mission in the game?
I don't think it was the best mission in the game, but I did think it was really cool because the ashtray maze is kind of this section of the bureau where you kind of enter it and it kind of looks like an Art Deco hotel type area. I mean, would you say that's kind of accurate?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I'm not up on my architectural phases. I am not the expert, but I would say that probably and hope that I was right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I'm doing right now. Anybody listening, correct us if we're wrong, but it's got this kind of like wallpapered vibe, kind of like, 50s-ish, 40s-ish flavor going on. And you basically like have to... The thing that I did not like about this mission is that I didn't realize what you had to do to unlock the mission. I went to the maze and the walls kept closing in on me, and I was like, well, what the fuck do I have to do? And I didn't realize that you had to go get the headphones from the janitor. Like I literally had to look it up online to figure out how to do it because I either missed the signal in the game that told me that, or I was just dumb, or I didn't realize it. But once I got that, you go through this sort of like area, and basically it's just this kind of like wild combat scenario where Jesse is like super powered and like is like nearly invincible and can kill things with like 1 or 2 shots, and the world is just like morphing around you, and all of these walls are popping up out of nowhere, and it's like these giant platforming feats, and you're like running along the sides of buildings, and there's this like silly like rock music playing, because a lot of Remedy games have this. Like Alan Wake had a specific moment where you're like in the middle of the woods when you come out of the cabin, and like this rock song starts playing, and like fireworks are going off, and you're like shooting all these enemies, which in that game I thought was incredibly cheesy, because like Alan Wake was trying to be really serious and like, I don't know, like, ooh, serious spooky story, and that just really like went off the rails and felt really tone deaf to me. But like in Control it works a little bit, because the world is already so bananas that it doesn't really feel that out of place. But I did enjoy the mission. I thought it was pretty surreal and interesting. And I like when games do that thing where they kind of make you like superpowered for a minute and just let you like go in and blow everybody away. I know like Splinter Cell Conviction, I think, had a mission like that toward the end where you like can auto aim and kill everybody in one hit. And it just feels nice to like kind of take a step in a different direction. I don't know if it was my favorite, but I did think it was a pretty memorable experience.
I thought it was pretty cool, definitely. There was a point when they just straight up say, go talk to the janitor to get his headphones. Like they do. There is a pop-up that says that at some point. And I saw that, so I just went to go. I didn't even bother going in the hotel. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sure this is going to be a crazy thing. I'll just go do and just get the headphones. But you come back and then, yeah, I mean, the song kicks in and it's like, I don't know, some Norwegian hard rock or something. Death metal, maybe, who knows? I don't know what genre it would be in, but kicks in and like, you're just going through and shooting stuff, and it gets pretty psychedelic, and I mean, pretty cool moment. I thought it was really a good change of pace where they just turn the throttle up all the way, and they're just like, we're just going in just hard on this moment, and it didn't last too long, and it was really interesting and a good change of pace. I think it's one of the things that Remedy does good in Control is they really have good mastery of the pace. Like they know when to put their foot on the gas. They know when to put their foot on the brake, and I feel like not only them doing it, but also giving me additional control on top of that, really made for a really good balanced experience. Like I felt like it went at the pace I wanted it to go, and when they wanted to take me on this ride, I was in the mood to go on that ride. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like something that I didn't want to get through. So it was really cool. I like the Ashtray Maze a lot. I think we're probably going to be talking about that particular section for a while as a good example of an exciting segment in a game, but overall, really like that. I feel like we've talked about Control a lot. Are we missing anything? Is there something we need to bring up? This is probably a good time to just like open the floodgates and have any topic, anything at all. Anything that you want to throw out there before we bring it home? Because I'm trying to think what I would want to talk about. Anything else left for you?
The last thing I can think of is I didn't, and I'm only asking this because you were paying more attention to the story than I was, and I probably missed it, but there's several sequences in the game where you get transported to this like cabin hotel area, and I did not understand the significance of that. And maybe I missed something or wasn't paying attention or missed a document or whatever, but were you able to connect the dots between those like hotel sequences and the rest of the game?
Yeah, they talk about that hotel as just being a place, as kind of like a dimensional nexus, where it's just like a place where multiple realities converge. And they mentioned it a few times, but they're just like, oh, this is a place that's kind of at the center of all things. And so if you go to this place and open these doors, it's just like a pathway to like other realities. So it's just like a place where they use as a shortcut to get to other dimensions, other zones or whatever. So, I mean, that's all it was. It was just like a convenient way to kind of warp drive you around the map if they needed to get you somewhere, or if they needed to bring in some other element. It was just kind of like a nexus. So I thought it was, yeah, just kind of an interesting little odd thing. I don't know if it was a specific reference to anything, but just in the fiction of the game, I felt like they just covered it pretty well. They're like, oh, you pull the light switch and people disappear and they appear somewhere else, and there are these doors and each one connects up to these other places, and we can't open some, and this one goes to the board because we know the board. I mean, they kind of go into it a little bit, but it's just basically just like if you need to get from A to J and you don't want to go through all the letters in between, go to the motel and you can shortcut your way there. So that was about it, I think.
I thought it might have had some significance to like Jessie's specific past, or maybe a place that she and her brother went or something. So I was kind of looking for that, but never mind.
Nothing like that. It was just like on its own. It's just like, I guess the entire hotel is like an altered item where it just has these connections to other dimensions. That's all.
Okay, good. See, this is why I need you around, because I don't pay attention to stuff, and then I can just be like, hey, what did this mean? And you just know right then, and I can ask you.
It's so funny, too, because usually, you're the walking sim guy. You're the guy who likes to root through people's shit. You're the guy who likes to read those documents. And in this case, we totally flipped. I mean, I didn't read as all of them, but I read like a lot more than you did, I think, before I lost my patience eventually. But usually you're the guy who reads that stuff. I'm surprised that like none of the stuff connected with you.
Well, I think in this game specifically, like, and maybe I can't remember if I said this or not when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but like, if the game presents itself as like a very like story forward game that doesn't really have a lot of like action or combat, then I'm like over the moon to explore the story. Like something that comes to mind for me is maybe like What Remains of Edith Finch or like Dear Esther or something, where it's like the game is like all story and it's all well written and it's interesting and like the gameplay informs the story. But when you hand me a game that is sort of like packaged in as like a third person action game, I tend to just go in like maybe not caring about the story as much, or maybe the story has to do a little extra work to like get me in. And I just like, I don't, if the game is like, hey, here's this third person action game where you're going to be fighting dudes and exploring this world, like I don't want to stand around and read things, so I don't. Like I picked up a ton of the audio and like books and stuff in the game, but I think I read the first like 3 that I picked up, and then I was like, okay, this is not interesting. Like I didn't come to the game for the story, and the story and dialogue at the beginning didn't present itself well enough for me to want to follow through on reading all this stuff, so I just stopped. But if the game is like full on, like, hey, this game is like 90% story, then I'm all in on like exploring every nook and cranny. But I didn't come to this game for it, and I was not intrigued by what was going on enough to like want to sit down and read everything.
Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. I guess the only question remaining on my mind, and we should probably wrap up after this, what do you want to see for the future of this game? We know for a fact we have at least 2 DLCs coming. I feel like this has been a big hit for Remedy. I'm not sure they thought it was going to be as big a hit as it is, but I feel like it's been really well received. And I think that maybe they were caught a little bit by surprise by how successful it's been. But everybody I've talked to, almost everybody has really liked this game a lot, and definitely more than they thought. I think we were all kind of expecting another one of those humdrum kind of like shooter hallway slogs that Remedy has done in the past. But they really, whatever happened, whoever they hired, whatever editor they got on board, whatever changed at Remedy, something changed, and they're like on a whole new level right now. So for you, what would you like to see from the DLC, or what would you like to see from the future of this franchise?
Well, for the DLC, I would like to see, I think it would be smart if they kept the DLC sort of contained in the Bureau building. However, like you said earlier, because the Bureau is so weird and they can do anything they want with it, I would love for it to be like, oh, suddenly the central elevator, there's a new floor that we haven't seen, and just like a new floor like materializes and you can like go to a new area within the Bureau. I mean, I feel like surely that's got to be what they're working on. Because if they stage it somewhere we've already been in the Bureau, it's going to be way less interesting. So I'm hoping that they keep it in the building, but they just unlock a new floor or a new wing or a new like place to go, and don't take you completely out of the Bureau into like its own separate entity dimension somewhere. Like I want it to be in the building, but a new floor, a new wing, something like that. I'm totally cool with it if it's just more combat and more exploration, because if they keep up the combat and the sort of environmental design that they have now and just give me more of it, I would be pretty okay with that. I mean, maybe if they introduce like a new gun or a new superpower or something like that would be fine, but I don't think I necessarily need that. But I hope it is in like a new wing of the Bureau itself. That's probably the biggest thing I'm looking for.
Okay, I totally am on board with that as well. I think that could easily be explained in the fiction without anybody blinking twice at it. I mean, a new door appears somewhere and you could go anywhere you want to, and it would totally make sense because of how they've set it up, which I think is great. I mean, I would be down for that. To be honest with you, I really kind of don't care what happens to Dylan. I mean, if he stays in a coma forever, that's fine, but I feel like we're going to come back to it. But I would like to just go on more missions. Like if they put out kind of like, hey, there's weird reports of something happening in Michigan, and there's a weird report of something in California. Like if you went to, maybe not for this DLC, but maybe for the future, like maybe, Jesse goes on field missions or something like that. I think that would be cool. I mean, there's all sorts of options that you could do, like all sorts of weird items, new dimensions you could explore. I mean, basically anything could go. So I think definitely for the DLC, I would like to see a new floor of the building. And then for the future, I would like to see, not necessarily take it into like full open world status, but she could easily investigate a haunted house or a haunted factory, or she could go to some weird location and branch outside the bureau a little bit once the hiss get dealt with. In terms of mechanics, I don't necessarily. I'm not really sure that I want her to get like a billion new powers, because I feel like the loadout she's got is pretty good already. Like, she's pretty well-rounded character. And I feel like the number of powers you have is pretty manageable for when you get in those firefights. Like, it's hot and heavy, but I never felt like super overwhelmed or like I didn't remember which button to push. Like, I felt like it was all pretty well balanced and all came together. I mean, I might like the ability to maybe swap one or two of the powers out. I didn't use the shield very much, so maybe I would want to change that for something else. But I think in general, she's a great character, and I wouldn't want her to be changed too much. But I would really like a radial menu for the gun. If everything could pause and bring up the menu, and you could flip through all of the forms of the gun rather than just two, that's the biggest thing that I would like, because there were a lot of situations where I was like, oh, I really want to use this other gun, but I don't want to hit like the touchpad and then bring up the menu or something. Just like something that you could do a little bit quicker in the heat of battle. Maybe just pause for like a second, switch gun, and then just keep going would make a lot of sense to me. But it sounds like we're on the same page, basically.
Yeah, I think so. And I do agree with you about the radial menu thing. That would be easy. But I found myself over the course of the game, much like you, I didn't really use the shield like ever. I was dodging and throwing stuff at people all the time. And I really I used the pistol version and like the shotgun version of the gun the most, and everything else I didn't. I used the little like submachine gunny type thing a little bit, but like the grenade launcher thing, the kind of sniper rifle type gun, the like one that shoots like the 3 missile things, like I didn't really use those. But I do think that a radial menu would be helpful.
I played exactly the same way. I barely used the shield at all. There was one particular enemy type that I found the shield to be very useful. And I think there was one boss where I thought the shield was pretty useful. But outside of those two instances, I don't think I ever used it. And I did stick with normal pistol and shotgun for like 90% of the game. Those were just like the two go-tos. And nothing else really seemed as effective or as good to use. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they could develop the other forms of the gun a little bit more to give me more reason to use those. Not necessarily that specific weapons would be immune to your shotgun or something, but just, like the grenade launcher didn't seem very powerful, and the sniper rifle or the sniper gun it didn't do like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was strong enough for like when I was using it in bosses and stuff. I was like, whatever. So maybe they could tweak those a little bit, but overall, I think we just want more of Jessie. That seems to be pretty clear.
Yes, just give us more, please, and that'll be enough.
All right, cool. Well, I feel like we've really rooted around in Control, and I think we've touched on a lot of topics. I don't think I have anything else to discuss. Anything left on your plate?
I absolutely know there's more stuff to discuss, but I also feel like we should probably bring the show to a close because we've been talking about this very, very at length.
Absolutely, yeah. We can't do another Hitman episode for sure. So I feel like we've done it justice. I think the takeaway is that this is probably Remedy's best game ever. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I really like Max Payne and Max Payne 2, but I feel like if I went back and played them today, I would probably think the Control is better.
All right. Well, I'm surprised, but you got a good couple votes for Max Payne. I don't like Max Payne at all. I've never liked it, and I definitely would say that Control is Remedy's best. So, but regardless, we both have really enjoyed it. It's not every game that we devote an entire episode to. It's not an entire game that we go back and play more of after we roll credits. So I think all that other stuff aside, I think the bottom line is we both really had a good time with Control, despite liking it for different reasons. And I am definitely looking forward to playing more of it.
Me too, and I hope that the developers at Remedy are thrilled that we spent a show and a half talking about their game.
Absolutely. So, all right, I'm done, man. If you're done, I say let's bring it home.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. I'm only like half sorry that we only talked about a single game on the show, but if you want to hear us talk about some more stuff, there is some banter after the show. Brad talks about some movies. I talk about a recent trip to Atlanta and some other stuff that we both have going on. So if you want to hear that, you can stick around after tonight's music to hear that banter. If you want to dip and come back next week. We will be back. In the meantime, you can send us any thoughts, any comments, any feedback, any ideas, any games you want us to play, any feedback on Control if you've played it, if you agree with some stuff we said, if you disagree, what have you. You can send it to us in a few different ways. The first way is via email. Our email address is sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com, spelled exactly the way it sounds. You can also comment on the Game Critics website whenever the show goes up there. There's a comment section underneath every single show. We are also on Twitter as a collective show. Our Twitter handle is @SoVideoGames. And last but not least, and perhaps the most efficient way to get a hold of us, is by contacting us on our individual social media handles. Brad, would you like to give out yours?
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram. Same handle for both. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's.
Excellent. And mine are also my first and last name. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It is Corey Motley, COREYMOTLEY. And that is it for episode 148. Brad, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, that's it. Thanks for coming along on this deep dive journey. Control. Hopefully you've played it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this chat. But if you didn't, we will talk about something completely different next time.
It's true. We will. And next time will be episode 149. This is the end of 148. And we will be back next week with a new show. But until then, this is bye from Corey.
And bye from Brad. We'll see you then. Excellent. So as we always start off the banter, it feels like it's been a million years since we recorded. We got to say that. Contractually obligated to say that every time. Feels like it's been a million years since we recorded.
It's true.
It has been a little while, though, because you went away for the weekend, and so we've been kind of in a groove of weekend recording lately, but not this weekend. Where did you go, sir? What did you do?
Well, I went back to Atlanta, which is the only place I ever go. There was a big parkour competition there, and because I'm so like bougie or whatever, I flew there and back with my friends Ian and Brandon, and it like the last time we went to Atlanta we flew, but it was me and Ian and my friend Levi, and we were kind of nervous, but it ended up being like working out like basically the best way it possibly could. Like we flew in. Ian used some app where the round trip flight was only like $100, so it was really cheap. And plus the flight from here to Atlanta is only like an hour and a half max. And so we flew in, our friend Julian that we stay with picked us up and then took us back to the airport. And pretty much the same thing happened this time. The only difference is that Julian had moved apartments since the last time we were there. And so we flew in, the flight was perfect. He picked us up at the airport. We went to their new place, Julian and his girlfriend Elena, and their new place is really great. And for some reason, like I don't know what it is about us, but for some reason, like Julian always gives us like VIP treatment at his like whenever we stay over. Like he always makes sure like the couches or the spare bedroom or the futon or like kind of like whatever like comfiest extra sleeping space he has is like reserved for the New Orleans people. And then everybody else who wants to come over, he's just like, fuck you, you can sleep on the floor. And that's pretty much exactly how it went. Like me and Levi and his girlfriend Bree, they drove in and we stayed in the spare bedroom, the three of us. And then Ian had an air mattress in the living room. And then Brandon slept on one of the couches. And then everybody else just kind of like, there was like one couch left. And then everybody just kind of like crashed on the floor. Like some people brought air mattresses, some people brought sleeping bags and stuff like that. And it was really good. It was like a 3-day parkour comp. We got in on Friday. I took Friday off. We got in really early Friday morning. Our flight left at like 6:30 in the morning. So we had to be at the airport at like, I think I left to go to the airport at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And then we flew in and there were a shitload of people there. I was not expecting that many people to show up for the comp. But I guess the Atlanta community, I mean, like I know it's good, but every time I'm just always surprised whenever I go back because this time around, like, we went from New Orleans. There were people from Florida there. There were people from North Carolina there. There were people from Tennessee. There were other people from slightly like different communities in Georgia. Like the Columbus people were out there, which is about an hour to 2 hours away from Atlanta. So it was just like this huge gathering of parkour athletes, and I got to see some people that I haven't seen in like a year and a half and just catch up with everybody. I got to meet some new people that I've kind of been following on Instagram for a while, but we had never met in real life, and photographed them. And they did a few different comps. They did a speed comp, a skill comp, and a style comp over 2 days. And it was just a lot of fun. Like it was just nice to see everybody. It was nice to see everybody compete. My friend Ian, who's like probably one of the best athletes in this like quarter of the United States. He did some pretty big. He didn't compete in anything because he's a little bit injured right now, but he's still like able enough to train a little bit, and he did some pretty big jumps at the gym and got like this parkour athlete who competes like worldwide, who has almost like 500,000 followers on Instagram, started following him the other day. So like that was kind of a big deal for him because he's like an athlete that he really looks up to. And so it was really good. I pretty much, the only sustenance I put in my body the entire weekend was like alcohol and weed. So
Joshua, just BT dubs, not sustenance.
Yeah, right. Joshua Jackson, if you're listening, I do have more weed stories coming up because I know he was particularly interested in my body's reaction to weed. But it was a good weekend. Like it was just every time I go to Atlanta, it's like everything goes off without a hitch. We never have any problems, whether we fly or we drive, and everything just worked out so well. And I had a very good time, and now I just want to drop everything I'm doing and move to Atlanta immediately and just live there for the rest of my life.
That is a thing that could happen. It could be Corey in Hotlanta. I mean, all things are possible right now.
It's true. I could be there. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Excellent.
Now, are you going to segue into crazy weed story, or what else do you have lined up on your banter docket today?
Well, I mean, I guess I can talk a little bit about the weed situation, because I smoked like kind of a lot while I was there this weekend, because Julian, the guy we stay with, he is kind of like, he has one of those like vape pen things, but he has like some kind of THC weed thing in it. I don't know how it all works, but so it's essentially like weed, but in like a vape pen situation.
Yeah, those are all the rage up here. Everybody's got one tucked in their pocket.
Yes, and then his friend Jay, who lives with them, he has like the same one, but he also just smokes like weed like blunts or joints or whatever the kids call it these days. And so I was on a healthy mix of like going back and forth between both of those. And like as soon as we got to Atlanta, I knew I wanted to take a nap because I was only running on like 2.5 hours of sleep, and I had flown in and we had driven. It takes like probably like 45 minutes to drive from the airport to Julian's place. And as soon as we got there, like Julian always just kind of like is smoking, and then he like offers up his like vape thing to anybody. And so I was like, of course, yes. And I've discovered that if I take two, and this is probably gonna make me sound like a weak ass, if I take like 2 deep inhales off of it, that's like a little bit too much to start with. And so I need to take one and then like maybe wait like 30 minutes or 45 minutes and like see what happens, and then take another one, because I took 2 inhales probably within like a 10-minute window and started feeling pretty high, like probably within those like 10 or 15 minutes. And then I started experiencing like sort of like the same like time dilation situation that I was talking about the last time I talked about it, where like, and I mean,
oh my God, do you wake up and there was like dinosaurs around and you time traveled back to Earth's past?
I mean, not quite like that, but it was just like the kind of situation where like how before I had mentioned like how I couldn't quite keep up with like what was happening in the current moment, and I would like hear something and then like kind of forget it happened, and then I would like remember it happened, and then I would hear something else, and then I don't know. It was just weird. It's just a very weird sensation. And so I kind of took a nap like after that. And then I woke up and I was pretty sober by the time I woke up. And then we went out to train a Friday night. And then later Friday night and Saturday night, I smoked more. And there was one point on Saturday. For some reason, I always do this, whether it's when I'm drinking. Because I mean, I drink, I don't want to say a lot, but like most of my like contraband time is drinking, because I've only smoked maybe like 5 or 6 times at this point. Every time I do this, whether it's drinking or whether it's smoking, I like will get inebriated, and then I will have this like weird fear that I'm gonna like sober up too quickly. And then I'm like, oh, well, I better like start drinking another beer because I don't want to sober up too fast, even though I'm like not in danger of sobering up too quickly. It happens.
It's not
every
like the
goddamn
bends,
time.
dude. You're not going to get like nitrogen bubbles in your bloodstream from sobering up.
It's so stupid. And so I kind of did the same thing like this weekend, where like I was like smoking, and then I was like kind of sobering up a little bit, and I was like, oh, well, like maybe I shouldn't. And then like Jay lit another blunt and was like passing it around the room, and I was like, well, I mean, while I'm here, because I don't want to sober up too fast. And then like I proceeded to get even more high, and I basically just like was sitting in a chair at the bar at their apartment, not like a restaurant bar, but at their a place, and I just kind of felt like I was like melting into the chair that I was sitting in. Like,
tell me why you get high again, because like none of this sounds good. Literally none of this sounds pleasant at all. Why are you smoking, dude?
I knew you were going to say that. I almost prefaced the story by saying I'm going to tell you the stuff, and I know that you're going to ask why I'm even doing it. And
oh my god!
I mean,
like,
please
tell me.
I think it's just like, it's just because like the experience is so strange, and like I don't have that experience a lot. So like every once in a while I'm like, okay, if the weed is here, then like sure, like I guess I'll try it, because like maybe it'll be different this time. And then it's like never different. I mean, that being said, I've only smoked like a handful of times, but like the last time I smoked, I did not feel the I'm melting into wherever I'm sitting situation. I was just experiencing a lot of like the time dilation stuff. But this time around, I was sitting at the bar, and I was just basically like pretty tired. And I think I speak really quietly whenever I'm high too, because I distinctly remember like saying a couple things and everybody leaning in and being like, "What? Like, what did you say?" And then I would like try to speak, and then I felt like I was just like melting, and it was just such a, I don't know, it's such a strange experience. And I mean, I don't know that I would really like recommend it to people, but because it happens, so I mean, I'm sure if I smoked like every day, which I don't ever think that would be a thing, because I have no interest in like trying to buy weed for myself from somebody. I usually just like smoke if I'm at a place and somebody has it and they're offering it. But it's just like such a rare occurrence that every time I do it, I'm like, oh well, like I wonder how it'll feel this time, and then it feels pretty much the same as it does the last time, and I don't know if it will ever feel any different. But it's like, I don't know, I think I need to do a better job of like pacing, like I said earlier, like taking like one hit and then just like waiting a little while, because if I go do too much too fast, then I start to like I wouldn't say panic, but I just feel like a little too strange, and then I'm like, wow, why did I do this? And then I start to sober up a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, like this is fine. And I've been told by people that I need to just like lean into the feeling of like when I feel strange, just be like, all right, I'm on board, like this is how I feel. But I wonder also if it feels like sort of like whenever people have like panic attacks or anxiety attacks, because I've heard people say before that like something, and I've never had a panic attack, so I can't like speak with any confidence on this, but I've heard people who have anxiety and depression say that like sometimes whenever they're experiencing panic attacks, they have to just like tell their body like, okay, this is not ideal, but I realize this is what's happening, and I need to just know that this is temporary, and I need to like lean into it and let it pass, and then eventually my panic attack will pass, and then I can kind of reflect on this. And I sort of feel that way about being high. Like I get high and I'm like, okay, this feels a little strange, but I need to just lean in and realize that this is what's happening, and eventually I won't feel like this anymore. And I don't know, like I can't really like super duper justify it, but it's just kind of like a win in Rome situation. Like when I'm around a bunch of people that are smoking, like I guess I will do it, and nobody's pressuring me into it, but I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. And then it always just feels the same, and it feels weird, but it's not so weird that I don't enjoy it, but it's like just weird enough for like the rare occurrences that I'm in those situations for me to be like, okay, I guess I'll try this again. And then there I am.
I mean, maybe you're just not a drug guy. It doesn't sound like you enjoy your time. Like, you literally turn into like a whispering amoeba when you smoke up. Like, you lose the bones in your body, you're a pile of melted flesh, you're burbling and people can't understand what you're saying, and then you travel through time. None of that sounds good because, I mean, at the very least, you could have like killed, Trump's grandfather when you were back there in history, but you didn't do
Oh,
that.
God.
So like, like, it sounds like you have like these bad trips every time. And I'm just thinking that maybe you're just not a weed guy. Maybe you're like a whiskey guy, or maybe you're a something else, or maybe you're just a guy. Maybe you're just like a nothing guy. Who knows? Like, I don't do anything. And like when I go to parties or when I'm around people, I have everybody in Seattle fucking smokes weed, dude. Like right now, ever since it got legally approved, literally every motherfucker on earth has like a weed vape pen, or they're smoking when they're walking down the street. Like, weed constantly. My son is 10 and he can identify the smell of marijuana from like 1,000 yards away, because we're never more than 1,000 yards away from someone smoking fucking marijuana. And it's like, so everybody smokes, right? But I don't smoke at all. And I don't, if you want to smoke or people want to smoke, I don't care. That's your business. Like, don't blow it in my face or anything. But like, if you want to smoke, I don't give a shit. But I don't want to smoke. And like, when I go to parties or when I go around people who are smoking and they're like, oh, you want some? I'm like, no, I'm good. And they're like, cool. Like, nobody ever pressures me. And I just am like, yeah, I don't want to smoke. And like, they don't care because it's just more drugs for them and they smoke up and they don't want to share anyway. So it's like, maybe you're just the guy who shows up and just chills and everybody's smoke, and maybe you take a little bit of like secondhand marijuana just from sitting around and you're just, you're in the cloud, but maybe you're not smoking up. Maybe your brain just is trying to tell you, like, please stop because I don't want to do this anymore. It never sounds good, dude.
Or maybe next time I'll just be like, maybe I'm a cocaine guy. Maybe I'm a meth guy.
I purposely veered away from it because I didn't want to say that, and I felt like I was heading down that path. And I stopped myself because I do not recommend you going down that path.
I would. First of all, I would never. Just so we're clear on that, I would never.
Maybe you are just like, you're like the pastrami on rye guy. You just bring your own sandwich, and like people smoke up, you bust out a sandwich. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe maybe you just tweet when people are smoking. I don't know, dude. I just like, these stories are hilarious and they're crazy to me because I never hear you be like, oh man, it was like the best. My consciousness expanded and I came back a better person and I understand life. You're always just like, oh, I couldn't tell what people were saying and I lost track of time, and it just sounds like a bad X-Files episode or something.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when people have trips where they're like, life has changed, that's more of like an acid or mushrooms thing, and I've never done either of those, and I don't know if I ever would. But I don't know. I don't feel like people have life-changing experiences with weed. Like, the weird thing with weed for me is like, everyone that I know who smokes a lot, and I don't know if it's like, if there is such a thing as like an acquired taste of weed or whatever, but like, everyone who I know who smokes, they always seem to like sort of like cite like, oh, well, it makes me feel relaxed and it makes me like feel really chilled out. And it's sort of like how like CBD is like becoming a big thing right now because it's basically like weed without the weed. And people say like, oh, well, CBD, it just helps me relax and it helps me calm down, but I don't necessarily get high. And like, I don't ever feel, I mean, I wouldn't say that I feel calm when I smoke. I think it's because I'm so trying to be so alert, like, as to what my body's doing and trying to make sense of it, and almost like trying to resist it in a way that it like doesn't, that I don't feel relaxed. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's because I keep thinking that like, okay, well, maybe this time if I smoke, I will actually feel relaxed this time. And so far it's never happened. And I don't know if it ever will, but you can bet your ass that I'm going to try every single time and it's never going to work. And I'm always going to wonder if it's going to work.
Well, I've talked to, so like in my line of work, I worked in mental health for like 12 years, and I've done drug treatment programs, not in them, but like I worked at them as part of my job. And I've been around drugs for like a long time. I've talked to like many addicts and stuff. And when it comes to weed, like I meet a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, it's totally no big deal. It helps me relax. It's all good. It's all natural and shit. But like, honestly, like it doesn't really seem to do great things for anybody. Like it just does. It's not as damaging as like meth or anything. And like, I don't think it's going to kill you. But like, I've never met somebody who like seemed better to me on weed. They just like kind of suppress the things that they have going on, and then it comes raging back when they stop, or like it makes their anxiety worse. I've seen some people get paranoid on it, or some people have like these weird like symptoms and stuff that happen. And I just don't think that like it really does anything for people that they couldn't get done by doing other things, like maybe like relaxation techniques or like fixing the problems in their life or like being honest with themselves or just, like doing like changing things, like, making life choices to relax yourself rather than just like going to this weed, this drug, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, literally everybody smokes it. And most of the time when people say they need it or they want it or whatever, and of course I'm biased, right? Because I meet people who have problems already. So it's not like I'm meeting the high-powered CEO who's smoking weed or something. Or, I mean, I probably do know some, but not in that context or whatever. But I don't know, man. I mean, I don't smoke at all. I don't see a need for drugs. I don't meet people who I feel like are benefiting from drugs. I think that ultimately it's just like a way to get rid of things or suppress things that you don't want to deal with. Maybe people will disagree with that. I know a lot of people are just like, I just like to relax. I just like to chill. Well, why can't you chill without smoking up? I mean, if you can't chill without smoking, then maybe there's a problem that you need to solve, Like, why can't you just chill naturally on your own? But whatever. But aside from that, I've heard many times that if you don't smoke by the time that you're a teenager, you likely will not acquire the taste for it, and you will probably not be a heavy smoker later on in life, even if you start. I think it's one of those things where you develop the taste for it early on, and then it becomes integrated into your body chemistry or your brain gets used to it, like when you're still growing and stuff. I mean, I don't think that somebody who is 40, who has never smoked before and starts smoking will become like a total pothead. I think they just probably won't have the taste for it. So you're probably not going to fall, into like a deep like addiction cycle or anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe your brain is just like, yeah, not for me.
Perhaps. I guess what you're saying here is really I'm just too old to appreciate weed. That's fine, Brad. I get it.
I mean, I didn't want to say it straight out like that, but since you did. Oh, anyway. All right, man. What else you got cooking? What else you been doing? What else is happening?
Well, the last little bit for me is another parkour related story. So there's there's a magazine in the parkour space that is kind of new. Well, I don't really know if it's new or not. It's called Move Mag, but it's MUV, and the U has like the little dots above it because it's like, I don't know, like cool or whatever. And it's been a website for a long time, and it's just kind of like a parkour blog. And I don't know if they used to have a magazine a long time ago, but they recently launched a magazine, or maybe they relaunched it or whatever, probably about 2 or 3 months ago. And I bought the first issue of it because I wanted to support, the scene, as it were. And it was really expensive, though. The magazine was like $35 for one issue, which is like absolutely bananas. But it's also like printed on like incredible paper. And I don't really think a lot of people that are making it are like getting paid. I think it's like 3 people that work on it. And I think like all of the money is literally going toward like just printing it and distributing it. And I got the first issue a while back, and I thought it was fine. It's nice to have a magazine out there that's sort of like the Thrasher for skateboarding is maybe like what Move Mag is for parkour. And plus, there's like no real magazines that like represent parkour out there. And whenever I was at the Jam over the weekend, I met 2 of the guys who work on it. One of us is named Colton, and the other guy is named Barrett, but he goes by Bear. And Bear and I hit it off pretty well over the weekend, and I didn't even know who he was before we went there, and then I met him, and he was cool, and then I learned that he worked on Move Mag, and I've been sending him some pictures and stuff, and I was asking him some questions about like production and like how the magazine goes and everything while I was there, and I was like sending him some stuff the other day, just some pictures that I had taken over the Jam, and he like messaged me back on Instagram, and he was like, oh, well, if you want to be like in Move Mag, I can make sure that happens. And I was like, okay. So I think I'm going to try to, I'm trying to work out like the perfect pitch for them right now, because I know that my photos will be able to go in Move Mag probably no matter what. But I'm going to try to write like a story to go along with it that's more than just a photo spread. And I think I'm going to try to write basically a story about like, an essay, if you will, about sort of how parkour has like affected my life, and about how when I started training and then when I got out of training, and how the guy that I met from training in Omaha or in Columbia, I mean, I ended up being like the best man for his wedding, which I think is always a great story, because we literally met through parkour, and then we became such good friends that I was the best man for his wedding. And And then like sort of transition into like how I became a photographer and sort of talk about that and maybe sort of like use the photos that I've taken over my, I don't want to say career because that makes me sound really like, I don't know, pretentious, but just like over my time as a photographer as a spread in the magazine. And I'm just like really pumped because like I like my bachelor's degree is like literally in magazine journalism with an editing emphasis, and I have done 0 magazine work since I graduated from college. Like I've obviously written a lot, like I've written for you at Game Critics, I've written a lot of blogs for myself, but I've never really done like serious writing like this. And so it's just weird because it's like a culmination of like what I went to college for plus my photography skills that I developed afterward, and Bear pretty much like already guaranteed like, hey, if you want to be in the magazine, we'll put you in the magazine. And so now I'm like really pumped, but I'm also really scared because I have to like really like try to show my best work and try to write something that's really appealing. And I haven't written anything serious in a long time. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm going to want to sit on until it's perfect for the longest time. But I know that that's not a realistic thing to do. You just have to write it until it's good enough and put it out there, because if you sit around and edit it and wait for perfection, you're never going to finish it. So I need to kind of get it. My life has been very busy right now, but that's something that I need to get on top of. And yeah, I'm just really excited because the magazine is cool. It's like a big format magazine. The paper's really nice. And I just finally like I've always thought about pitching to Move Mag, but I just never have. And now they're basically like, hey, we'll put you in it. And I'm very excited about that. I just need to get my shit together and work on my pitch and write my story and do the 8 million other things you have to do whenever it comes to writing for a magazine. And then maybe one day I'll be in it.
Excellent. Well, that is a great opportunity. I love that to hear that doors are opening up for you and that you're kind of making your mark in this thing that you love to do. That phrase, perfect is the enemy of the good. I mean, it's so true. Like if you wait around for something perfect, you're never going to get nothing done. So you got to at least get something out there and do your best and just roll. It's better to have something that's pretty good than to never have anything that's perfect. So yeah, man, I say just go for it. Get something down. Just get out there and make your mark. And whatever you do, the next thing you do will inevitably be better anyway, because that's just how life works. But you got to start somewhere. And I mean, awesome. I mean, I would totally, track down a copy of this magazine once you get in it, and I'll give it a look-see. I got to ask you, though. So it's a magazine about parkour stuff. I got to say, this is going to sound totally fucking nerdy, but the first thing I thought of was that you would flip the pages like a flip book to see people doing parkour moves because it's a magazine about parkour. Do they do that? Do they do flip book animation? Please tell me they do.
Not in the magazine, but that is maybe something worth exploring for it.
When you get your stuff in there, you pitch that to them. You can have that idea for free. Just say, we got to do like a little flip book art. Just put it in the corner. People read the articles. When they're done, they flip through and see people doing sick moves. It would be pretty cool.
That's actually like a really good idea.
There you go. You just improved their brand by like 35% right there, dude. Pitch that article and you're good to go.
Excellent. I will, maybe I'll have to see what they say about that.
Nice. All right, man. All right. You got anything else, or is that good?
I have exhausted my banter. So what do you have going on?
Excellent. I don't have a lot going on. I have like 3 movies to talk about that I will discuss. I do have just one really brief story. I do not tolerate spiders in my home very often. Ooh. How are you with spiders in your home, Corey?
Oh my God. I don't like spiders at all. And then when I moved to Louisiana, the thing that I discovered that the only thing I hate worse than spiders now is giant cockroaches, because those are a thing here. But spiders, no. I can't, like, if they're like really tiny or like really wispy and maybe they're like high up on a wall or on the ceiling, I don't really care about them. But if they're like of any girth and like on the floor or on a table or like low on the wall, then I will usually try to like trap them and like throw them out in the yard. I rarely kill them because I don't want to have to clean up the mess they make. But I will try to like trap them and take them outside. But yeah, spiders and cockroaches, they terrify me.
I hate both of those things. I hate cockroaches more than I hate spiders. But I hate them both a lot, and I don't tolerate either one of those things. Luckily, I have only lived in one place that had cockroaches. In case anybody doesn't know, Hawaii is filthy with cockroaches. There's cockroaches Big ones all over the place, dude. Literally every surface of Hawaii covered in cockroaches. I'm not even kidding.
Oh my god, I had no idea. What the
Oh,
hell?
dude. They're the tropical kind, and they fly at nighttime.
Oh my god.
They are under anything you lift up. So that was a nightmare and a half because I was not prepared for that when I moved there. Covered in fucking cockroaches. Also, since we're talking about it, every house in Hawaii has ants, with no exception. You could be the richest guy on Hawaii. Your house has ants, guaranteed. And if you live in the woodsy side of the island, centipedes the size that you have never seen.
Oh,
no. I don't know if I ever told this story, but friends and I were renting a cabin on the windward side of Oahu one time, which is the wetter side. And man, we rented a cabin. And we slept there hanging out. The next morning, there was a centipede in the house. It was the biggest fucking centipede. I mean, literally, like, it was like a foot long, dude. Like, at least a foot long. It was enormous. So big that you could hear its footsteps when it was walking on the tile floor. You could hear it. You could hear the little, like, the legs going.
That's disgusting.
I freaked out. I put on my flip-flops, or slippers as they're called in Hawaii, jumped on that fucking thing, and it was not injured. It did not get hurt. It didn't smush. It, like, laughed at me, and it kept on going. My weight at the time, I mean, I'm heavier now. I mean, just full disclosure, older and heavier. But at that time, I was probably, like, 140. Didn't phase it, dude. Didn't kill it. Didn't injure it. It was fine. I had to, like, scoop it up in a frying pan and throw it out because I couldn't kill the fucker. And I was really afraid he was going to bite me, dude, because it was huge. And it was fast, and, like, it looked really like something you didn't want to mess with. Okay, anyway. Heads up, if you go to Hawaii, there's all sorts of evil shit in Hawaii. Not the point of my story.
I'm never going to Hawaii now, ever.
I mean, I don't really recommend it, but whatever. Not the reason I brought this up. We're getting off track. So spiders. Spiders is why I brought this up. So I don't tolerate spiders in my house. I have gotten more mellow about them lately, but I still don't tolerate them. And I'm kind of the mindset of, like, look, you keep out of sight, you don't crawl on me, I'm not going to come looking for you, and we're just going to call it good. But if you crawl across my fucking carpet in the middle of the night, I mean, when I'm out here, or if you're like perched on my keyboard or something, I can't tolerate that shit. Or if you're somewhere where, like, you're near me, I can't deal. Like, this is my house. Your house is the entire rest of the earth outside. You have way more living space than I do, motherfucker. I just have, like, 1,000 square feet. You got the entire earth. Like, get the fuck out of here. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't tolerate them in my space. But it's been summer. I mean, we're getting to the end of summer here. Summer's over. But in summer, we like to eat a lot of fruit. My son is a fruit monster. He'll eat all sorts of fruit all day long. He loves fresh fruit. And so we tend to buy a lot of fruit. And I don't know if you have this problem, Corey, but when we buy a fresh fruit, you have fruit flies. Like, it just happens. Like, you buy a banana, you buy an apple or something, a peach, a nectarine, whatever. If you bring it in the house, like, the next day, you're going to have fruit flies. Is that a problem for you in Louisiana? Do you eat fruit? Does that ever happen to you?
I think here, I think it's more of, like, a gnat problem. I don't know how different fruit flies and gnats are, but I feel like I see more gnats and more termites here than, like, actual fruit flies.
Okay. Well, we get a lot of fruit flies here, and it's pretty bad. I don't know if it's something specific to Washington, but, like, it's fine. We won't have a fly in the house for, like, the entire winter because, they're dead, wintertime, cold, whatever. Springtime, nothing will happen. But I swear to God, the first time I buy the first batch of nectarines or the first batch of just whatever that's fresh this season, motherfucking fruit flies. And they breed, like, so fast, dude. Like, it is unreal how fast they breed. You go from, like, one fruit fly on Monday to having, like, 40 on Thursday. And it's like, it's out of control, right? So we have all sorts of fruit fly traps and, like, sticky tape and stuff. And it's like impossible to get rid of them. The only thing you can do is, like, to just stop eating fruit for, like, 2 weeks. But then my kid doesn't have fruit, and it's like, he's bummed. And it's like, you miss out on all the strawberries and all the raspberries and all the stuff that he likes that are only really available in summertime. And I don't feel like it's okay for him to miss out on that just because we have fucking stupid fruit flies. So whatever. Anyway, getting back to spiders. So I'm washing the dishes in the kitchen, and I notice that there is a fucking spider right above the sink, right where my head goes, right where I'm looking at. And I'm about to bring the wrath of heaven down upon him. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, wait. He's He's one of those web guys that doesn't crawl around the house. He just stays in his web. It's right above the sink, which is really close to where we keep the fruit. There's a million fruit flies here. Okay, natural consequences. What if I leave this guy here and he just catches all the fruit flies? That might be a good thing. If he catches these flies for me, my opinion of him will improve, and I will not be mad. I will not kill him. I will thank him for his service, and then when the fruit flies are gone, I'll go stick him outside or whatever. That's fine. So I'm like, okay, not going to kill him, which was my first instinct, but I'm going to let him do his job. And I'm going to just leave him there. And the wife was not happy about that at all, but I talked about it with her, and I'm like, look, you hate the fruit flies just as much as I do. Let's just leave the spider. And she's like, fine, but I'm not happy about it, and that fucker better stay where he is, or else I'm going to, like, go ballistic. So, fine. We leave him there. I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling like we're bridging the gap. We're creating peace between the arachnid and human kingdom. A newfound partnership. I'm like, this might work out. This might be good. I let it go for like a day. I check his web. He hasn't caught anybody, and there's still like a shitload of flies here. Okay, not good. And I start to like, I try to shoo the flies like in his general direction, right? Like I'm trying to like, like push him over there, like get a little whoosh of air from my hand and kind of push the fly towards the web. And like, he's just, none of them are getting caught in his web. I'm like, okay, whatever. Whatever. Just give it time. Spiders are patient. I can be patient. That's fine. Like the next day I come back and I check. Nothing. He hasn't caught anything. And there's like even more flies the next day. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is like the worst spider I've ever seen. He's like, one job is catch flies. Literally a million flies right here. He's caught 0 fucking flies. And I'm trying to like, send him his way, and like they're not getting caught in his web. He's not grabbing anything. He's not expanding the web's reach or anything. He's just like hanging out right where I can see him and right where it's close to my head, which makes me uncomfortable. So I wait, and like honestly, dude, after a couple days, I think the fucker was starving to death. I don't think he was catching any flies at all. And I'm like, what are you even here for? What are you even doing? So I'm like, all right, forget it. Forget it. I grab the fucker in like a little plastic cup and I just throw him out. I'm like, forget it. We're done. This partnership didn't work. Fuck you, Mr. Spider. Fuck your fucking web. Fuck all this. So my little experimentation into creating peace between our two kingdoms was a total failure. He didn't catch a single fly that entire time. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe he had some kind of like weird non-sticky web, or maybe the flies were too small for his web, or I don't know what happened. But there was like all this food that was just going uneaten by him, and it just like, it really, really boggled me how he could like be there for so much time, surrounded by so much prey, and not catch a single one. So whatever, never letting that go again, never tolerating another spider. This is done. That was the one chance, that chance fucked up, didn't plan out.
Would you say that your partnership was not a fruitful one?
Oh man, yes. It was not a fruitful one. Good one. Yeah. So, all right. Fuck spiders. Fuck fruit flies. I have a couple movies. Can I talk movies real quick to talk about?
You have my permission.
All right. One that so we watched 3 movies recently. The one that we liked, and we liked them all. But the one I liked the least probably was called 10,000 BC. Have you seen this one?
I don't know what this is.
It is as you might guess, like kind of a caveman type story. My son really likes those for some reason. I guess he likes when people fight like prehistoric animals or something. And so this one was done by Roland Emmerich, who was responsible for Independence Day and a lot of like the shitty Godzilla movie that came out with Matthew Broderick.
Did he do The Day After Tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal?
He sure did. That was him. So this guy, and I gotta be honest, like it wasn't bad. Like I don't think it did well at the box office, but it wasn't bad. It was a story of cavemen who hunt mammoths, get half of their tribe stolen by these more advanced cavemen who have like mastered horses, and they came and like took away all their tribes people and ran off. And so the more primitive cavemen want to get their tribes people back, so they go on this chase across like this continent, and along the way they have all these like crazy caveman adventures. And this is like a totally serious movie, like not a comedy. It's just like an action adventure survival type of film. Eventually they catch up with those more advanced guys, but then those more advanced guys are actually working in service of even more advanced guys. And so it kind of shows, so they get there and they, stuff happens or whatever. And the story itself was kind of epic. It's like traditional caveman crossing the Great Divide, lots of fighting, a couple guys die along the way and stuff. But the thing that I thought was really interesting about this, and despite the fact that it wasn't really like the best movie, but there was a lot to like about it. Like, number one, tons of people of color in this movie, which I thought was cool. The main caveman and the main female cave woman or prehistoric man or whatever you want to call them, They looked pretty Anglo. Like, I mean, they weren't super Anglo, but they were pretty Anglo. But like the rest of the tribes people in his tribe, pretty African American looking. And then when they got to other parts of the continent, people who were just like straight up Africans. And then they got to like other parts where they were like, I mean, there was like barely any white people in the movie, which I thought was cool because if you go back and read about, historical theories about who was around at that time. I mean, most scientists, I think, agree that people were much darker back then, especially when you're in the warmer climates. So that makes sense. I'm glad they didn't just have like 10,000 super Anglo cavemen. So that was nice. Also, it was really interesting because there was a lot of educational opportunities because even though this was not a factual representation, like super fiction, 100% fiction, there was like lots of opportunities to like kind of homeschool my son because like the very beginning tribe were like hunter-gatherers and they subsisted off these mammoths and everything they had was made from like mammoth skin and mammoth bones. But then when they met these other tribes, it was like they were growing food and I'm like, oh, look, these guys have mastered like, the agrarian society. They've got like grains coming in and they have learned to stay in one place. They don't need to travel because they have a regular food source. And so we talked about like how that was like the next step in human evolution was like learning to grow your own food rather than just like finding it. And then like later on, when they got to the super more advanced people who had like stone buildings and they were like constructing pyramids and stuff, and they were talking about like the different social order that they kind of implemented and how they were using like money and stuff that the other tribes didn't have. And so it showed like different levels of human evolution. And honestly, like I'm not a scholar or anything, but there's a lot of thought that there were multiple tribes of different levels of advancement that were kind of coexisting at the same time. Maybe not as widely varied as what was shown in this movie, but like not all cavemen were equal back in the day, and some died off because other guys had better weapons or other guys had more food because they could farm. And so like it was interesting to see like the contrast of like where humans were back then and kind of just like super condensed into one film. So it was interesting. I mean, it was fun. I watched it one time and I thought it was okay. I don't think I would ever watch it again. But I'm glad to watch it one time, and I think that just from kind of like the educational perspective, there was like a lot to pick up on. So that was pretty interesting. Does that sound like your jam at all, Corey?
Not really, and I'm kind of surprised to hear that you enjoyed this because I thought you were going to be like, oh, it's really silly and it's not interesting, and I don't know. But I'm glad it was good.
Always looking for a way to like sneak in some homeschooling, and no better way to do it than to watch a movie or something. I know a lot of parents are like anti-screen time and no TV for my kid and get them away from screens and stuff. But honestly, I feel like it's a really good way to learn. I mean, the best way to learn is by doing. But if you can't do everything. I mean, you can't go and hunt a mammoth and just like learn from the experience. And there's
not
no
with
cave.
that attitude. You can't.
I know, right? Jeez, I'm so negative. Oh, sorry. But like there's a lot of things that you just can't do, or maybe you can't do as a kid, or maybe like you're just not in the right area of the world for that, or whatever. And so, like, watching TV is a great way to learn things as long as you have the proper context. You have an adult nearby that can answer questions. You can look up things that you don't understand. You can watch, a high-quality show. And even on a show like this 10,000 BC, which I don't think was really the highest quality, having somebody along who can point out parts that I think are actually really relevant or really good. So I'm a big supporter of guided television watching, guided movie watching, like having true parental supervision. So I'm a big supporter of that. I think you can learn a lot from watching screens. We're not anti-screens in our family, as I'm sure you could probably imagine.
This podcast would not exist if you were anti-screen in your family, I believe.
Oh, dude, seriously. Okay, next movie I watched, liked a lot, also, very good movie. It's called Warm Bodies. Have you heard of this?
Is this the stupid one with the guy that was in Mad Max who plays...
Yes.
That movie sucked. I did not like it. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't like that movie?
No, I thought it was really cheesy and overdramatic and not well acted and not interesting. And Nicholas Hoult, that's the guy's name, who plays the lead character, did not really... I mean, I know the movie's supposed to be like silly or whatever, but I just like couldn't really buy anything that was going on, even though that's a dumb thing to say considering the subject matter of the movie. But yeah, was not into it at all whenever I watched it.
Oh, okay. So what did you think of it, honestly? Oh, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was great. We were sitting on the couch, me and the wife and the son, and it was one of those days when the circles of our Venn diagram were not overlapping. We had time to watch one thing. And like I wanted to watch something that was kind of actiony. I think the wife wanted to watch something that was like more romance, and I think the son wanted to watch something that was kind of horror. And like every single thing that we were nominating, the other two people would shoot down. So like she'd say something and we'd be like, nah. And then he'd say something and we'd be like, nah. And I'd say something and like no one was going for it. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I remember this movie, and this seems to have, it has romance, it has zombies, and there's like some action. Maybe this will do it for us. And it was the exact center of the Venn diagram on that day. So it was a good pick. And I really liked it a lot. It's, for those who don't know, it was a book, very successful book when it came out at the time. I remember it being very well reviewed and a lot of buzz about it. And then it got turned into a movie. So it's about a zombie apocalypse where some of the zombies are retaining some of their knowledge, and they're not totally decomposed. Like, some of them are super decomposed and they're just like bony and gross, but some of them are like still fairly human looking, and they have memories, but they're not able to talk and they're not able to really communicate. So this one zombie comes across a girl who's on like a supplies party. Like, this group of humans goes into the remains of a town to gather some supplies. The zombie sees her, and it just like sparks something within him. And so it kind of reminds him of his humanity, and it reminds him that he used to be a person. And it kind of, it starts reversing the zombie, I don't know, virus or whatever's going on with these guys. Like, it starts changing him back. So rather than being a cold undead zombie, as the title suggests, his body starts to warm up and it becomes more and more human the more time that he spends around this girl. I'm not going to get into the whole story right here, but basically, like, it's about the zombie reclaiming his humanity and about developing a relationship with this person who would ordinarily be like his prey. I thought it was cute. I thought it was really cute. I thought it was, it was sappy in a way, but in a good way. I think that just overall, we just really liked it, and it fit our mood exactly. Like, it was the perfect movie to watch on that one day. So I can see how you wouldn't like it, but for us, I thought it was really great. It was a zombie movie, but not too scary. It was romance, but not too romance. There was action, but it wasn't an action film. It was kind of in the middle, but in a good way, like in the best way. And I really liked it a lot. So I would recommend it. You would not recommend it, but I would recommend it. I thought it was pretty cute and pretty good, so I liked it. Definitely liked it. The last movie I want to bring up, Night of the Comet. Have you seen this?
I have never heard of it.
Night of the Comet. Okay, so just watched it like a couple hours ago today, fresh in my mind. I watched this movie. It's from 1984. I watched this movie 1,000 times when I was a kid. Like, it was on HBO or something, and it was on repeat all the time. So I watched it, and I haven't watched it in like 20, 25 years. And me and the kid were home today. He wasn't feeling good. He's kind of laying on the couch, and I'm like, okay, let's watch a movie. And I didn't want to watch anything that was too hardcore horror, and I wanted to expose him to like some of the classics. I'm like, oh man, Night of the Comet. Haven't seen that in a million years. The basic idea is that there's a comet in the universe that comes near Earth once every 65 million years. So if you do your math, the last time the comet came was when all the dinosaurs on Earth died out, right? So it's been gone for 65 million years. The orbit brings it back. It's now coming back to Earth, and people are out celebrating, like, oh, it's a good excuse to get drunk. We're going to go watch the comet, whatever. And what happens is it vaporizes every single person on Earth who is not within a steel structure. So the star of the movie works at a movie theater, and she is inside the projection booth, which is like a steel cage or something. So she's protected from the rays, but like literally everybody else is just like red dust when she comes outside. And the only other people around are people who were like partially protected. And these partially protected people become like these gross zombies, or like halfway rotted because they didn't get the full dose of radiation, but they weren't saved either. So what happens is this girl and her sister also manages to be inside of a metal structure. They meet up the next day, and like literally they're in Los Angeles. No one else at all is in LA. Like, the entire city is like empty, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? What do we do? And it's just about them kind of going back in the city and like just being stupid teenagers, just let loose in an entire town, like a major metropolitan area with no consequences, no responsibility. Like, what would teenagers do in Los Angeles if they had no limits? Like, no one would say no, they didn't need money anymore. So they go, like, they get all these clothes, and they get fancy cars, and they shoot guns, and they do all sorts of just whatever they want to do. They meet up with some zombies after a while, and then they meet a couple other survivors. And I'm not going to get into it here again. I think this is a great movie, but this movie was absolutely wonderful. It was really wonderful. It was happy because it held up to what I thought it was. Like, and I don't know if you have this experience, Corey, maybe when you get older, but like, you love things when you're a kid, and like sometimes when you go back to them, they just really don't hold up, and it's kind of like disappointing. Like, someone pops your balloon, like, oh, this thing that I thought was great ended up being really lame or just embarrassing or just not really as good. But this one, I honestly think it was even better than I remember with the amount of time that's passed since it was originally first shown. Not only because I'm older now and I can appreciate other aspects of it, but also because of the context of our society now in 2019 compared to 1984. And I'll tell you what makes this movie special. So the two stars of the movie are two women, and neither one of them gets naked in the movie at all. No tits, no ass. Nobody gets naked, number one.
I was not expecting you to lead with that, by the way.
Literally, that was the first thing my wife asked when I told her about it. And I'm like, no tits, no ass. Like, it's not a meat market. No one gets naked at all. There's one sex scene, but like nothing is shown. Like, it's just like two people inside of a sleeping bag and all you can see is their heads. And it's not even, no one's moaning or anything. Like, it's very chaste, right? So like on top of that, these two girls in the story, their dad is like a special forces guy and he's not around. I think he gets killed or something, but like he taught them both to defend themselves. And so whenever they get cornered by zombies or by these other people who want to fuck with them, they handle their shit. Like both of them can kick ass. And it's not like they're tough, beefy bodybuilders. They just have, taken self-defense courses. They're very confident about themselves. They know how to shoot guns and they're not shy about it. Like they're very comfortable with firearms, but they're not like, bullet sexuals or whatever, or ammo sexuals as the term is these days. So they're just very strong, confident women who get out in the city. The film totally passes like the Bechdel test where there's multiple scenes where they're talking about not a man and they're just like living their life in the city and just figuring out what to do. And later on, when a guy does show up, like, it's not, they don't rely on him to like get them through anything. Like they both are just really tough and good. And so for that to be the case in 1984, two strong leading women, neither one gets naked, pretty unheard of in 1984. And on top of that, one of the survivors they meet is a Hispanic guy who you might know later on got a role in Star Trek. I don't know what series, but I think his character was called like Chakotay or something like that.
Yeah, Chakotay from
Deep Space Nine? No,
no,
that's not
it
right.
wasn't Deep Space Nine. It was
Voyager.
Voyager, yeah.
So that guy, he's the guy. He's the one of the survivors in that movie. If you know that guy, Robert Beltran.
Yeah, that's it.
So he's a Hispanic character, and like no racist shit happens in the movie. Like they don't make any burrito jokes. They don't call him a spick. Like nothing happens. I was like, oh my god, this is like so forward thinking and so like appropriate and respectful. And the way that he was treated, like I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that none of this stuff is happening. Like the usual, like when you go back to watch movies from the 80s, dude, so many of those are so cringeworthy and so embarrassing. The only thing that happened that I will say is at one point, they do use the word fag, which is always like pretty cringeworthy sometimes. When I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure a couple months ago, it was like getting slapped in the face when they said it. Like it was really unpleasant and like not cool. But in this movie, the two girls are talking, and one of them is asking if she like did it with the guy, and she's like, "No, we just talked." And she's like, "Oh, do you think he's like a fag or something?" Like, and not to say that it's okay, but it like the tone in which that she said it was she was just asking if he was gay, right? Like it wasn't like a put down, and it wasn't like she was. I mean, okay, like I'm not trying to make excuses. I know that it's not okay to say that and stuff, but I'm just trying to say that like their handling of it did not feel offensive to me, even though they used an offensive term, which was not offensive back then. You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
You're making sense. I mean, I think, like, I would perhaps argue. I mean, I know exactly what you mean because this is like the same thing that like sort of like old like male comedians are dealing with right now, where like 20 years ago they could say like really stupid like racy jokes and now they can't, and they're like, oh my god, oh society. So I get it, but yeah, like it wasn't used in a way to like bully someone in the movie.
Exactly. Like
yeah.
I'm not excusing it, not saying it's okay, but I appreciated that it was just a poor dialogue choice and not a put down or like a slander or something like that. So anyway, just to be clear, not excusing it, but I appreciated that I could, I noticed the difference in how the tone of it was, and it was very, like in general, the movie is very respectful of women, very respectful of this guy who was a Hispanic character. I thought he was really well treated. And it was just like really shocking and surprising to see a movie that really stood up in that way and was still a great movie. So I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I think it was better than I remember. Would absolutely recommend it to anybody. Just know that the word fag is going to come up and just brace yourself. And, but hopefully you can see the other parts that are good about it. I didn't realize it had become quite the cult hit that it is today, but I guess Joss Whedon, who's had some trouble of his own these days, said that this movie was actually one of the inspirations for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like how strong these girls were was one thing that spurred him to create that character on his own. So I think that's an interesting tidbit. And I guess a lot of people really like this. It's been picked as one of the top apocalypse movies on several different lists that I saw when I was Googling. So it does have some fans. Check it out if you've never seen it. It's right now it's streaming for free on Amazon Prime, and I believe Amazon has the rights to it. I was not able to find it on the other downloading services, so you may have to go to Amazon. If you got Prime, it's free. If not, I think it's like $2.99 or $3.99 or something like that. But I loved it. I'm so glad that it was so good, and I'm glad that it, in general, really held up, and it wasn't embarrassing to watch. Which, again, I mean, like you watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, some cringeworthy stuff. Adventures in Babysitting, super cringeworthy stuff. Even like Home Alone. Oh man, there was some bad stuff in Home Alone. You go back to some of those movies, you got to be careful, but this was one that I thought really did well for itself.
Well, good. This actually, now that you were describing it, I remember seeing you tweet about it earlier today, and whenever you had tweeted about it, you said that it was like quintessential 80s with like lots of neon and stuff, and I like my ears perked up a little bit, and hearing you talk about it on the show now, I can't promise I'll go watch it immediately, but it does sound like something that I would enjoy, so maybe, if I'm feeling lonely one night at home with nothing to do, I'll just boot up Amazon and put it on and see what it's like.
I will say for you specifically, the colors are amazing in this film. I really like the colors. I really took note of the colors. It is super 80s, so like everybody's got big hair. Everybody's wearing like shoulder pads and like the clothing that was of the time, leg warmers and stuff. But like there's also like tons of neon. There's like lots of like red and pink and blue. And they color code like the characters like kind of subtly. I really liked the way the movie looked a lot. Like I think just visually it was really interesting, especially for the budget. I think the whole movie was made for less than $1 million, which, was not a lot of money in general. And at that time, I don't think that was anywhere near being a big budget movie. So I think they did a great job for less than 1 million. And I think it's very stylistic. It's got a great ending. I think it's just really fun to watch. And I think it's interesting to watch too, just visually as well. So a lot to recommend this one. I was really, really pleased.
Well, good. It does sound, I hadn't heard of it before, but it definitely sounds like something that maybe I should keep an eye on.
Well, there you go. Check it out. Let me know what you think if you watch it. But that's all I got, man. That's all I got. You got anything?
I have exhausted my banter, so I have nothing left for the show.
All right. I say we should talk about some games then.
Let's do it.